May I please request all the guests outside to please come inside the hall, please. Namo Buddhai, Tashi Deleg. A very warm welcome to all of you on the second day of the Bodhipath Film Festival organized by the International Buddhist Confederation. Let me reiterate, this film festival aims to celebrate and showcase the rich spiritual, cultural, and philosophical traditions of Buddha Dhamma through motion picture medium across Buddhist nations. This event is dedicated to Buddhists globally and offers a platform for myriad representations ranging from historical teachings of the Buddha to unraveling the tribulations of the mind. I request our honorable guests today, Shri Gagan Malik, eminent international actor and cultural envoy from India, Shri Abhijit Haldar, Director General of International Buddhist Confederation, and Shri Akar Patel, Director, Ambedkar International Center, to please come and offer flowers to Buddha, marking the beginning of the second day of this festival. The film festival over the 2 days is going to present 10 films and 4 panel discussions. I request our Director General, Shri Abhijit Haldar, to please come and make opening remarks recapitulating yesterday's session.
Good morning, everyone. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome once again on the second day of this event, which is something we put together at a very short notice, as I mentioned yesterday. And I must say that yesterday's session was quite enriching. People were very happy at the end of the day at the dinner when we were conversing and trying to figure out as to what was the outcome of the day's activity. It was really heartening for us to know that people went back satisfied in terms of the panel discussions as well as in terms of the movies which were shown. I think to wrap up, there are a lot of people who have come today who were not there yesterday. So just to wrap up, we started off with a wonderful speech by Geshe Damdulji from the Tibet House. He has done some special work on visual and audio perception being used in terms of conveying the message of the Buddha. And I've heard a lot of his lectures in terms of strategic communication and Buddha Dhamma, the linkages. The build-up which he has done on that subject is amazing, and something which no one else has done. And in fact, I was chatting with him and I was saying that this is something which the government should also know in terms of the linkages between, the links between strategic communication and Buddha Dhamma. There are subtle elements which one needs to know, especially in the media domain. And he was very happy and he said that he's going to share the details. We also had the NSD director, National School of Drama director, Mr. Chitranjan Tripathi with us. He's a very humble person, very grounded. Those who were there yesterday would remember him saying that, I'm just nobody here, have no idea about what's happening around the world. But typically, like a theatre man, he said that the whole world is a theatre. The whole world is a theatre and we are all actors, and there's this maze of things happening behind the scenes which we are not aware of. Very interestingly put across. The outcome for us and for me especially was that he's very keen to do something through the NSD on Buddha Dhamma. So some sort of a drama or a theatre series. So we'll take it from there. As far as the films are concerned, there was this first film which was dissemination of Buddha Dhamma. This was an in-house production of IBC. And I think a lot of people were a little surprised. In fact, some were saying that, why don't you get in touch with some film production companies? There are many companies at different levels. You should engage them and get some good films made. And this was a question pitched to me at the podcast by one of the social media influencers. And I just mentioned that, I said that, we have actually created a in-house team, a small team. And that particular film, dissemination of Buddha Dhamma from India to different countries, was entirely done by this team. In fact, I would want the photographer to be here. Shivan, aa jao. Just so that you know that he's the guy who actually just asked me that I want a camera, a sophisticated camera and a video link and some equipment, which is very difficult to provide immediately, but then we catered those equipment. And I told them that you can just travel anywhere you want, use the drone, do whatever it is, but I want a damn good film. I mean, and a nice storyline. The storyline, of course, was edited by us, and Professor Pant was behind the scenes doing all the critical elements. The voice was by one of our youngsters. Vaishali, why don't you? So she did the voiceover on the entire film. Practicing, I remember her practicing several times, using a little deeper voice and little softer voice, and we were trying to correct and calibrate. But thank you very much. So this is a small team, and of course the others. There are others here, who I wouldn't like to mention all of them. Some helping Shivan, some helping Vaishali, and that's how we created this particular film. And but I must say, at the same time, we have Surinder Talwarji there, so he shouldn't feel bad or awkward, because he must be thinking that these guys have made their own team, because he's the one who actually did one of our films. We did a film on Talwarji, jara khade ho jaiye. I must mention this because when I joined this place in 2022, the organization had done more than 10 years, and a lot of things had happened, and we didn't have a proper database or a film to showcase. I mean, of course, there are documents and papers, and people like me can talk about it, but it just goes over the head. But to have a very neat, comprehensive film is something which is recapitulating your history. So he did that film, Talwarji, and I wish we could show it here, but we've been showing it in most of our programs everywhere. In fact, that's our theme film. Thank you very much. So we'll involve you for other serious projects as well. Um, Coming down to the other movie, there's one movie which I really liked. I mean, I didn't think in the domain of Buddha Dhamma there could be a film like this, The Cup. This is about these young Bhutanese monks, Bhutanese film, young monks trying to get to see the World Cup, and they managed to bring a television set into the monastery. Now, some people, we were debating about this. Some people were saying there are a lot of venerables here. They were saying that some monasteries may take it otherwise, because it shows a little bit of indiscipline in the sense that these monks are escaping in the night and going to a particular place and watching a football match and then coming back into the monastery quietly, and then they are caught and all of this. So maybe a sign of indiscipline, but I thought in consensus where we were discussing, most of us felt that no, this is reality. And the way the director has brought out the reality, and it's frank, and at the end of this entire story, nobody loses anything. The monastery gains. In fact, preventing monks to actually go out and watch something which they are very keen to watch. So when they bring the television back to the monastery, basically they've ensured that these kids are fond of something, so let's get them inside the monastery. So it's a fantastic film. I would love to see it many times that I'm asked to. There was this movie, Path of Compassion, very prominent, very well-known movie. We decided to show it again. Fantastic. This is in remembrance to the people who've lived here in this country from Tibet, and of course His Holiness. It was a symbolic film because yesterday was the uprising day, Tibet uprising day. So we marched in is very critical in the history of Tibet, and we decided to show this film. There was this film called Geshe Ma is Born. Now this is all about nuns, and I'm sure many of you would have loved this particular film. This is a very complicated subject actually. Nuns being allowed to come to the fore, and and being allowed by monks to also practice. Different countries have different takes on this, but this particular film actually highlights how His Holiness has encouraged nuns to contribute in every way possible to the overall cause in terms of spreading the message of the Buddha. There are different viewpoints on this particular subject, and we do face this challenge when we interact with nuns across the board. But we, as an institution, we have decided we are going to encourage as many monks as possible. And we have been doing this, and it was very interesting to find some people. We had this actress, Indian actress by the name of Barkha Madan. She has, she's sort of become a nun, and giving up her acting career, and she sort of spends months in hills and monasteries, etc. She was supposed to be here, but I think she's in Dehradun now. So very interesting, and we are involving her in our activities. Then we came across another lady. She's actually from Mangalore, but she was a fashion model in New York. She used to appear in some of the top magazines, fashion magazines, and I remember her telling me that there was a time when I would be offered a Gulfstream aircraft to fly down to Italy and do two sort of ramp shows and fly back to New York, all paid for. So she was at that level, but she's completely become a monk now. She's also working, sorry. And that's where the difference is now. She's so much used to. So she was there at the Asian Buddhist Summit, which we held in November, where Rashtrapati Ji had come. So we are trying to build this particular group of nuns, and of course Jetsumma Palmo. There's a very famous nun who's probably in the 80s now, and living in the hills. She's also part of our activity. She's part of, in fact, she heads one of our subcommittees. I was just telling someone yesterday that in Thailand, for instance, we have someone very famous, a nun who we had decided to, in fact, offer, confer an award. So we're going to do it in the coming months. There was a little objection from certain quarters, but we're going to do this. We have the second secretary from the Thai embassy sitting here. Thank you very much for being here, both he and his wife. I must mention also that in the process of collecting films from different countries, we had approached. Of course, this was at 20 days notice. I have served in embassies, so if I am in an Indian embassy somewhere and if a local organization tells me that in 15 days can you get me 10 films, there is no way. There is no way one can do it, because I have to report back to MEA, which is the External Affairs Ministry, who are going to get in touch with the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, and then the INB is going to sit over it, and it's a difficult challenge. But the Thai embassy was most reactive, I must say, and especially the DCM. I would say is your boss, but hyperactive. Till day before yesterday in the evening, he had got hold of a film, and then it turned out that it was not dubbed. So he was trying to dub it from Bangkok and make sure that it's there in this film festival. But by the time everything had been finalized, so we're going to show it next time. In fact, we're going to have a Thai film festival. That's what we have planned. Coming down to the last film which we had, Until Space Remains, a beautiful film, beautiful narration on His Holiness and his life, and I think there couldn't be a better time and day to host an event like this. I mean, host a film like this, Until Space Remains. Typically memorable, and I think some media people picked on these two films, A Path of Compassion and Until Space Remains. These two films have been, there are people who are writing stories on this. Today morning also I got a call from them. They wanted details of this film, and even the two films if possible. So I think Amos, probably we'll have to send these two films to 2 or 3 people. I'll just tell you in the media. They want to do a write-up on this. Panel discussions, we had 2 of them. One was led by the moderator, Mrs. Shashivala. She rightly said that that there is need for more time for these panel discussions. We are short of time, that's why we just had a symbolic quiet discussion. We would have also liked to have a longer session. In fact, I would have preferred a session where one could ask questions also, the audience. I was wanting to ask them questions, but there was no space. Anyway, we had Arjun Pandey there. Arjun Pandey is a young producer. As he said that at 17 years, he comes from a filmmaking family. So his father used to take him out hunting, and those days hunting was allowed, and they would travel to forest areas all across the country, and his father was a big time photographer. So at 17 years, he started producing his first film, this youngster. And at about 22, 23 years of age, he had his films in National Geography and BBC, etc. Of course, then we had Rahul Dongre, an influencer who's into Buddha Dhamma big time. So he's traveled all the way to be here with us. Then we had a panel, which was the final panel, and I think that was the tip of the iceberg, one of the finest panel discussions that we had in the evening about artificial. It ended up discussing artificial intelligence and Buddha Dhamma in communication, as well as in mindfulness. So we had of course Professor Binoy Bahel of fame, of the someone who's been the doyen in the film industry as far as Buddha Dhamma is concerned. The extensive travels which he has undertaken all across Southeast Asia. We have been, in fact, in a way blessed to have him with us, because we do showcase him in various events. In Thailand, we had a Bodhipath exhibition in 2022. So we took him with us, and the films which he showed there was they were literally an eye-opening experience for the locals there. Gagan Malik ji was also present there on that occasion. We had Aparna Sanyal also participate in that particular panel. Now she's going to be here. Today there is a film of hers which we are going to show. Again, she's a fantastic film personality. The kind of film she's made on people who have gone through mental illness, people who suffer social differences. She's done this particular film called A Drop of Sunshine, and it narrates the story of someone by the name of Reshma Valipan. Now, this is a lady who was suffering from schizophrenia, and her life story is something which is covered by the media extensively. Now, she did a film on that. Then she did a film on something called Tedi Lakir. Now, this is about story of two gay men in the city of Delhi. Now, look at the difference from schizophrenia to the story of two gay men to a series of Buddhist films. She's done one called Shunyata. This is on the Palpung monastery, shot there. Then she's done one called Monks Who Won the Grammy. That's again a very popular film. Then there's this famous Kathak dancer, Shobna Narayan. So she's done a film on her also. So doing films of that variety and range. And there's a very important and very interesting, one of my favorite serials, Exotic Marigold Hotel, which has basically a group of rich British women who come to India and they travel across the country, and it's their experience. This has also been directed by her. So she's going to be here, and she's part of this whole journey, the 2 days journey. I will just say that we're going to have some very interesting films today. Some of them I know of, and I'm serious about it. I wish all of you attentively watch the films and also continue to be there till the evening, because 4 o'clock we have Adil Hussain coming in. He's famous for acting in different films, but most important of those was the Academy Award winning film called The Life of Pi, which all of us are aware of. So that will be a very interesting conversation between him and a gentleman by the name of Rajesh Kalra, who's a media personality. That's at 3:30. That's at 3:30. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Enjoy the day.
Thank you, sir. Before moving on, I would like to extend warm welcome to Venerable Terasawa from Japan, who is a founding member of IBC. He's joined us today. Our first session today is a conversation between our special guest, Sri Gagan Malik, and our Director General, Sri Abhijit Haldar. Sri Gagan Malik, well known for his role portraying the title character of Sri Siddhartha Gautama, a film that won awards at the Delhi International Film Festival and the United Nations Buddhist Film Festival in Vietnam. He is a spiritual envoy propagating Buddha Dhamma in Thailand for India, well known for his humanitarian work. Before calling him to the dais, I request my team to please play the trailer of his film. May I please call on the dais Sri Gagan Malik and Sri Abhijit Haldar. Can we have a round of applause for them, please?
So you've just seen Gagan Malik in this particular trailer. He's real here in front of you. But I must say that, he's somehow maintained a particular level and dignity in terms of his performances, the acting role. Given his background, he could have really, gone across and done movies which are so-called masala movies, or the modern day movies, the thrillers, the action-packed movies. But he has somehow, remained grounded. And you would have seen him in the Z serial, the famous Z serial called Ramayana. He played the role of Rama there. My experience with him is that in Thailand, again, is very popular. He's most of the time based there. The reason is, and I don't know if you'll agree to this or not, because Thailand is a country where Hinduism first arrived, and subsequently laid the groundwork for Buddhism to arrive, and then Buddhism became the official language there. But Hinduism is visible in different forms in Thailand, in the ceremonies, in art, culture, in activities, etc. So having played a role in the serial Ramayana as Rama, which is akin to the Hindu philosophy, and having played a role as Siddhartha Gautama or Buddha in the film Sri Siddhartha Gautama, you must have noticed, the language there is Sinhala. Again, Sri Lankans are very rich in Buddha Dhamma, very, very rich. And the Sri Lankans decided to do this film with him in the lead role. So that's also a very, very big thing. So I just want to ask you that how come you've always remained within this genre and not crossed over to, any action-packed thriller films, etc.?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. I think it's a very important question and that Mr. Haldar have asked. Before I start or to say something, I must give my regards to the Venerable Mahasangha and all the nuns who are present here. And of course, you need a great leader for anything that you do in life. Like, if he is an organization or community, and under his leadership, I think IBC is growing day by day, and I congratulate you for that, sir. And we have honorable guests here, excellencies there, and welcome. Thailand is like my second home now, because every month I'm there. In fact, on 21st again I'm going there. And all the Indian guests, writers, senior directors who all are present here, please, you have a warm welcome. I know it takes a lot to come, right? Like 10 a.m. you have to wake up early, you have to come somehow and get here. So you all have come, so I thank all of you to come and join this, because it is also some kind of a merit. You can come and watch any other masala films, it's a different story. To come here, to be a part of a Buddhist film festival, to know about the teachings of the Buddha in some way, to know about the life of the Buddha, meet the senior monks and nuns, take their blessings, is a kind of a merit that you have made by coming here. So thank you very much for that, and now I will come to my question, or your question. I was an actor who always had a dream, like every other actor, of name, fame and money. There are three things that the actors look forward to. So I started my career as a TV series actor. Like, there was one series Indian people might be knowing. My first series was Kum Kum. That Juhi Parmar and Hussain was there. I was their son. And after that, I have done certain TV commercials. I was a model. I was Mr. Photogenic Mr. India 2004. And after that, my career take a very different kind of a turn. I did one musical also in Europe for 2 years, 160 shows in 7 countries. That was all about India, and it was a mega hit there. Premiere was in Paris, so I was the main actor there too. But when I came from there, I heard that these producers have... the name of that musical that I did was called Bharati. That was all about Bharat. And amazing, 120 people were there, and choreographed by all the top choreographers, Remo, Saroj Khanji, and all the top were there, and produced by an Israeli producer, not Indian, and supported by Sahara. At that time, in 2008, they have given 25 crore rupees as a sponsor there. Yeah. I came back from there, and suddenly I saw some Sri Lankan producers are coming that they wanted to make a movie on Buddha. And मुझे भी एक आदत हो गई है, instead of बुद्धा बोलने की बजाय मैं बोल के बूढ़ा बोलने लगा. It's okay, that's an accent I grabbed because of a lot of traveling there in different countries. So this producer have come and they said, okay, we are going to take an audition for Buddha's character, Siddhartha. I said, okay. I came, and the first question was, do you drink? I said, no. Then he said, do you smoke? I said, no. What about parties, girlfriends and all? I said, no, sir, I'm married, so there's no point of all these things. Yeah, so it's okay. Then he was asking me all the personal questions, nothing about acting. Then I said, sir, this is my personal life. He said, it can be your personal life, but Sri Lanka, for Buddhism, this is the first time they're making a movie on it, and it is very sensitive. And he asked me, what do you know about Buddha? I said, he's a symbol of peace. Because nobody taught us anywhere in the school or anywhere where I could have heard about the story of the Buddha. I studied in Arya Samaji school, Hansraj from Delhi only. But nothing was known to me, just he's a symbol of peace. He said, okay, then you need to study. And somehow, he said, people of Sri Lanka can kill me or kiss me. There's no in between. So we have to be very careful. Somehow, rounds by rounds, they have auditioned 300 boys, and then we reached a point where they have selected me in many ways. And before selecting me, the producer came to my house in Delhi and stayed with me for 1 week to check, to have a counter check, like what is happening, what kind of a family he belongs to. So it was very funny, but somehow I got the role, and then I started studying about Buddha's life. So I said, please, can you tell me a book or something where I can read more about it? Then they said, okay, it's a Vietnamese monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, most valuable. He wrote a book called Old Path, White Clouds, very famous book. So they said, okay, Gagan, you go through this book, you will understand what we are looking forward to. So I have read the whole thing, and that changed my thinking of life totally after reading that book. I became a different person all the way with one, that was the power of that book. So I said, okay. Then they put me in one big hall like this. My room was like this, open one room and one washroom, all white, separate from all the other actors. What I have to do is meditate. I don't know how Buddha will walk, how he will look like. I have no idea what to do. But now I knew the life of Buddha. Now I knew the Dhamma of the Buddha. I've read a bit of it. So I thought, okay, then I got some nice pictures of the Buddha. And I framed them and put all over my room, and I was meditating. Every day, I got a personal teacher, one-to-one meditation. So we reached a point where we could even meditate for 8 hours, continuously. So I meditated every day, and then finally, I reached a point, okay, we started shooting, and Sri Lankan people are very sensitive, very, very sensitive of Buddhism, like so sensitive, and it's very difficult to explain, sir. A small incident, I was telling Rajni ji that I usually don't walk bare feet. So I walk in my shoes all the time, but there I have to practice walking bare feet. So my director told me, whenever you're walking around the house or practicing, just be bare feet. Then you get a habit. So I was walking around, and one day I was lying down reading Sinhalese dialogues, and suddenly I opened my eyes. I slept and opened my eyes. I saw one guy was standing just next to my face and looking at me like this. I said, who? I got scared. I said, what happened? Very sweet guy, poor guy. And he's very soft voice, said, sir, today my birthday. Oh, I said, okay, happy birthday to you. Then I don't know who was he. Then he told me, I sweeper. I said, okay. He cannot speak English properly. He said, I sweep. Oh, very good. And he was hiding something behind. He bring his hand in the front, and he got very nice pair of sandals for me. He spent half of his salary to get a best quality of a month, like very poor guy. He said, sir, you don't have shoes. You playing Buddha. And you know shoes, please wear this when you walk bare feet. So I was very moved. Like, that is the kind of respect normal people have for Buddha there in Sri Lanka. So we celebrated his birthday. In the evening, I got big cake, and all the crowd, like crew of 100 people, we joined together and we celebrated. So this is a kind of incident. And now when I played the role, the president of Sri Lanka came for the premiere, and people came with some potatoes and tomatoes there. If anything wrong, they are going to blast everyone there. Very strong, even including the press, because it's not allowed. How a human being can play the role of Siddhartha? How? It's not possible. Nobody can be like him. So that was the thought process. But as soon as the first scene came, like he's leaving the palace, the close-up went, and they all were stunned. They all saw the movie, and people were crying in the end. President was moved, and he invited all of us for the meal, 150 people next day. And now everybody started recognizing me as, oh, he's Prince Siddhartha, most famous than any Sri Lankan actor. And it broke all the records in Sri Lanka for last 70 years. So it was a great effort. So now day by day, we went to different villages where they don't have access to the cinemas. So we did a LED truck with a big LED and go and show the movie in the temples, in the villages, and come back. And I talked to them a little bit, and we with the translator, we went even to the prisoners. Even prisoners were, crying. Many people have changed their life after watching it. Now my producer came to me. He said, Gagan, now people see you as Siddhartha. You are not a normal actor now. They have a different kind of an image of yours. So you have two choices. I give you a choice. One, you can go to Bombay and start, carry on with your career, do all other masala films and everything. And the other one is, we can go to the world. Many few people get the chance to be propagate Buddhism, and people will listen to you. For you are blessed with a good personality, and film is nice, and people will see you, and whatever you'll tell them, they will agree to it and they will listen to you properly. So I said, but I have to run my kitchen. He said, that I will take care. So I said, okay. In that part, I took a decision, okay, I will give up this side and let's start working on that side. So that way, I chose that part, and I said, okay, now I will go countries by countries and start propagating Buddhism. And the first country after Sri Lanka, I went to Vietnam. And every corner of Vietnam, when I went there, the question was asked, what are you doing for Buddhism in India? Everywhere. That was the question. Okay, we follow Buddhism, but we saw like Buddhism is like very less in India. Buddha was born in India. What are you doing there? He said, I said, that's a good question. What am I doing? Then I come back to India and started working on the Buddhist activities all over, and took a journey, but in the meantime I went to Thailand also. I got a lot of love from Thailand. Before I thought, okay, if I'm trying to teach people or talk to people about Buddhism, the first thing they will ask me about the teachings of the Buddha. So I thought to take a decision to become a monk. In Thailand, you can become a monk for 15 days, a temporary monk. So I became a monk, but for 4 months. I had certain commitments there, so I have to give up. Otherwise, it was very tough for me to take off the robe then, because you have to shave off your head, shave off your eyebrows. I told them, it's possible you don't shave my eyebrows. So the master was laughing. He said, you are still attached. Because you are becoming a monk, you just detach yourself from all the beauties that you have. So they shave off my head, shave off my eyebrows. I was looking at me and I said, it's me, So I became a monk. It was very famous. So I took a decision there that first thing I will do in India is I will distribute 84,000 Buddha statues across the country. Many poor temples in India, they don't even have a proper statue to worship. You have not traveled, but I have traveled in the very poor parts of India where Buddhist people are there and they don't have a proper statue there. And by now, I have already donated 25,000 statues are done, and including 500 big statues of metal like this of 6 feet, at least we have given. So we, as an actor, if Shah Rukh Khan will go somewhere, or Salman Khan, they have a lot of fan following, like they're big superstars. Everybody will go take follow. But sometime when I go, I have a different kind of a connection with the people. They look at me in a very different way. They want to hug me. They have strong emotions for me because I have played that part. And suddenly, if I'll come with something, with 3 girls on this side, 3 girls on this side, drinking and having smoking, enjoying party, and you see me there, then the respect will finish because we have earned that respect. So I chose to do all the divine roles, and I'm blessed. Now, ab mujhe koi dusra role deta hi nahi. Nobody gives me any other role now. Anybody's calling, okay, we have this Ramayana I got. Even he only told about Ramayana on ZTV. But I played Ram in Sankat Mojan Hanuman also for 3 years. 631 episodes, Ram, Krishna and Vishnu. 3 characters in one show. Then in Ayodhya, when they celebrate Diwali, Deeputsav everywhere. It's a grand festival, a ceremony that happens every day. They light, I think, 2 million diyas there. And I am going there for last 5 years as Bhagwan Ram there in Ayodhya. For last 5 years I am Ram there. Even in Ram Leela in New Delhi, which is the biggest one, I played Ram for 7 years. So somehow I'm playing Ram also, but parallelly I'm doing my duty as a Buddhist by bringing the teachings of the Buddha through Thailand. Because Thailand, I'm very strongly related. I have all the masters there. I've learned meditation very strongly there. Some of the top masters are very close to me. So I continuously go there. I bring Indian people there. I bring Indian Thai monks to India also for grand ceremonies. So last, your ambassador, who was the last one, was also very close to me. So somehow we are maintaining the relations like this. So I think it was a great decision, and I'm really very happy of what am I doing. Okay, these divine roles, I think you need a special blessing to get this kind of role, because there are millions and billions of people around the world. If you are chosen for something, that means you are chosen for some duty. So I'm trying to perform that one. That's why I didn't went into that. It's a long story. I just wanted to explain the journey for your one small question. Sorry for that.
No, I think you're a fantastic storyteller. I mean, if we go on like this, I can have 10 questions and we can just finish the day, or half the day. Very mesmerizing, very interesting, and like I said, yeah, role on both sides. The two ancient Indian traditions we talk about, Hinduism and Buddhism, which is there in Thailand, an ideal place for you. And also, we've been blessed to have him with us, because any event that we do, especially in Thailand, we've been doing some events. He's always there by our side. And of course, it's worth looking at the crowd which follows him there, the locals. It's a bit of a challenge for him to get away from the youngsters. And the issue is younger generation, pursuing Buddha Dhamma is something which is being questioned in every country, whether it's in Mongolia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, in India also. So that's where he comes up. Because looking at him, he's still not crossed that age limit as we have. And he's got a long range to go. So I think a lot of people, the younger generation, up to, I think 35, 40, they just want to follow on his footsteps. And that way, I think you're doing a fantastic job contributing towards this aspect. But tell me some very interesting incidents. I mean, I think let's not get into philosophy or serious talk. Okay. Something very interesting which would have happened. I just want to listen to that, I think.
There is one more interesting story. It's very funny, but it's true. Whenever you do a Buddhist work, there's a belief, and it actually happens. Mara is always there. The evil is always there watching you, not letting you do the correct work. So I got selected for this role, and I was having a long beard because they want to start with a starvation scene where I have not eaten for many days. So I was preparing for that, and I went for a nice facial. Okay, before going to Sri Lanka, I want to look much better. Okay, there's beard. And I went for a facial. Next morning when I woke up, I got 250 pimples on my face, like all over. I said, what is this now? 2 days left. And people in Sri Lanka are waiting to see who is going to play this role. And I didn't know what to do. I rushed to the doctor. He said, you got allergy from some cream. So you need to eat this antibiotic or an allergy tablet. You might be okay. Don't worry. He was like, don't worry. I ate that tablet. Nothing happened. I ate like for 2 days continuously, 3 tablets a day. I said, give me injection, whatever, because I can't go like this. They will say like, who is this guy who you choose for Buddha role? And somehow nothing happened. Means 250 pimples, much more stronger were there. I was looking very ugly, swollen face with beard, mustache, it's like very, and my hair was grown like curly hair, like I look like someone, like a monster. Yeah. Deep down I was crying because I did a hard work of months to grab that part. I called my producer. I said, sir, this has happened to me. Now what to do? He said, yeah, if it happened, what can we do? But you come now, people are coming, it's okay, don't worry, we'll see what can we do. Like he was very casual because he has other stress. People are coming, including ministers and everyone. And they had a big ceremony, and suddenly on the stage, I will come, okay, he is the Buddha now. And I don't know, I will come with the 250 pimples on my face. Then I went there to Sri Lanka finally. I tried to put some makeup. And in makeup, you can hide the darkness, like if something is dark, but the pimples, swollen things, you cannot hide. So if you put makeup there, it will shine more. So whatever I tried my best to do it, but not looking good at all. So I went in front of them. They saw a guy, nice dress, but long hair, beard, mustache, pimpled face, and like all swollen. And they started talking. They started laughing and talking. You have chosen this guy to play the role of Siddhartha. Are you serious? They said, yes. The producer said, yes. Now, they have started talking to have a meeting, like we have to change this guy now. The meeting started. The whole meeting conference quickly, they had a meeting like we need to change the guy who's playing Devdutt, he's also good looking, we can make him Siddhartha. And Devdutt was played by Gautam Gulati, who won the Big Boss. Okay, so he's a good looking guy too. But somehow they need a more serene guy where you can see, like, you know, naturally blessed. So मेरे को देख के कई बार लोगों को लगता है यार कितना शांत स्वभाव का ऐसा. So they are looking for like someone who looks very calm and peaceful. Now the producer was the only one who stood by my side. He said, no matter what happens, even we have to take the shots from like you know 20 feet, 30 feet, we will only do the white seats, but I am not going to change this guy for sure, because he tried and tested me and seen me for months. He made up his mind and he said, believe me, this is Mara who's playing the game. He said, Mara is playing a game, but look at him. So then I came back from the event in my room all alone. I was crying by myself. And I was looking like, why? Why this happening at the last minute after such a hard work? Why? Then I said, okay, we can't do anything. The next day I asked one of the guy, I said, do you know any doctor here in Sri Lanka like we can get? He said, oh, I know the best doctor for skin, let's go to her. I said, okay, let's go. I went to the Sri Lankan doctor. That lady was very famous and she gave me a tablet, same antibiotic that was given by the Indian doctor. I said, I'm already eating this one. He said, there is a difference between the quality sometimes, and she gave me something extra also. And Sri Lanka is very strict in pharmaceutical. Like you can't get medicine like go to chemist and just buy it. Like very strict. You have to, you must have doctor recommendation there. So she gave me that medicine. And one guy told me, Gagan, there's a very famous temple next to that one. You ask anything, you get it. I said, okay. We went to that temple. And I was like, deep from my heart, I prayed, please help me. I really want to do something nice. Like a lot of hard work has been done for this one. I have really done work hard. And I prayed and I took that medicine also. I know it sounds unbelievable, but when I was going home, I started feeling something is happening in my face, like it's getting dried up or hard, something is moving somewhere. So I went and I felt sleepy. I slept. I woke up, half of the pimples dried up. I took another medicine. I was quiet. I was very happy but quiet. I took another one, more half. You will not believe. Next morning, when I took another final tablet, all the pimples got dried up. Clean. Unbelievable. Like it was, and I was lucky enough, there were little marks there. I was playing a scene where, starvation scene, where I have some dirt on my face. My makeup guy said, I can cover all this. So he put the makeup there and covered all the marks, and you can see in the end, then they show you, then I walked and fall down. That was the first scene, because after that I have to shave later. So within one day, all these pimples have gone away, and I played that role, and they have done it in a nice way. And everybody was, you know, when I shaved and everything, they saw me, they said, okay, we are very sorry that he's okay. Hey, you have chosen the right person. So whenever the moral of the story, of a real story, it's not a story, it's a real story, that whenever we do some kind of a good work, the hurdles are always there. But end of the day, Buddha will win. Mara will never win. But if you give up, then he wins. So we should not give up for doing some good work. So somehow, if I have chosen, sometime I face a lot of difficulties also. But you know, and someday, like, you know, when you come home, then you feel very happy. Sometime if I have to go, and you know, Thailand is a place for party also. So sometime people have to take me, okay, Gagan, go there. And some people came, oh, I have to go to a very nice walking street to see there. Please come with us. I said, I cannot go there. You know, somehow I put a mask there, and one day some people came, they just want to see like what kind of atmosphere there. So when I went to that street, and some of the people look at me and point, Buddha? No. Then I have to turn back. Because if somebody, like, you know, you have to give all these sacrifices. So we are trying our best. In some way, I am also a human being, but I am fighting for it. Someday, I think if I'm fighting, I will win. So that's why I just want to choose the right, you know, path. About the youngsters, yes, they want to see some youngster. But I think that will not be enough. If we really want to change the mindset of the youngsters, then we have to change the education system. Education system, when I'm talking about, I think they should have a new subject called love, peace and compassion, or peace and compassion. which is accepted by all the religions. You train your child, because from 5 to 13 they learn the best. You train your child right from the beginning, the real meaning of love, peace and compassion, and that subject should have a value equal to the other subjects like math, science and other things. When you go for a job, the world must see, okay, how much did you got in peace and compassion, in love? Like to see them morally, this guy is correct or not correct. If you grow up with that kind of a setup, then you're serious about it. You do some practicals, like you go and donate something to someone, even as a child. It gives you inner happiness, like man ki shanti milti hai when you give something to help someone. So when you grow up with that setup, I think that can bring a change right from the beginning. So that is needed. I don't know which country is going to take that step and make this subject like a compulsory subject, not an extracurricular activity. Usually it is always, if you go to R.S. Maji school, the teacher will come teach us about R.S. Maji, it's extracurricular. Like most of the people are flying planes and sleeping, hee ha ha, and that kind of a thing is happening. So that's, I think, will play an important role if you can do something about it.
Thank you very much. We have time for 2 minutes.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, that's two
So
multiplied by 3, I think.
I will quickly say about the festival. If,
yeah, okay. I just wanted to, I just wanted to say that, yes, what you said about, when you're doing good work, there are hurdles always there, and you know, it's the patience and your ability to deal with that hurdle. Many of us give up, many of us continue. We face a lot of these hurdles. Absolutely extreme situations where we decide to drop away from programs, etc. But Professor Pant is sitting here. He's like my guru in many ways. Yeah. So when we discuss, he looks at me in a very humbling manner, and he says that, and he says it in Sanskrit and Pali also, that, this is what it is. This hurdle is going to be there. It is there. It has to be there. I know it. Yes. But you have to cross it, and you will cross it. Yes. So we we agree with this. And as far as your background is concerned, the humbling background that you have, that I can vouch for it, because yesterday when we had our dinner and we invited him, he said, no, I got to spend time with my mother. So he went home and spent time with his mom. And one thing I wanted to ask you, the 15-day monk, as a monk, when you came out, the first experience that you had, just that moment, when you walked out, finishing those 15 days.
4 months.
4 months. Oh, yeah, 4 months. Okay. Yeah, 99 days. Okay, fine. Sorry. So what was your experience? The first experience, the first thing that happened, the feeling.
It's a very heartbreaking moment. That is 4 months. You got so much love from Thai people. I have to give sermons every day. I have to teach people, talk to people, and the kind of respect that you get. 3 times you got bored by everyone. You go on the road, people are crying, want to, really lot of love and respect I have got from Thai people. And now, they chant a bit, and you have a sankhati there, like when you wear as a monk. And the main teacher will say something, and with one finger he just remove the sankhati. It's like finished. You have a timer that my life is finished now. So the first thing I did was crying. It was very tough. It was not easy. So the feeling was, I wished now next time if I become a monk, I must become a monk forever. But that experience was really wonderful. It is very touching feeling, but it opened my eyes about many things in life. I have learned a lot in that 4 months about the real inner happiness, which we have not felt, most of us have not felt yet. So that I felt, and I think it really changed me a lot. And I wish maybe one day in life when I feel, okay, now the time has come to become a monk, then I will become. Still, lot of time is there, because I still love to see some beautiful girls sometimes they're going. So some sensual desires are still there, I believe.
That's natural as a human being. As a human being, you're a human being, all said and done. So feelings and senses are always going to be there, but control is what is important. You wanted to say something about the film
final. Before we wrap it up, we'll take quickly because it's a great effort. It's not easy. 2 things I will say. Number 1, before I wrap up, I want to finish our conversation is about sacrifice. We all must know that it was not easy for Buddha itself. He was a prince. To give up all the wealth, wife, child, parents. It was not easy. By saying it's very easy. If I tell you just donate one car of yours, it takes a lot of courage to do that. But he left all the luxuries behind, and not for himself, for us to have a life which is free of suffering, to find a path for us to get enlightened in some ways. So we should never forget the sacrifice that he has given. That was not easy. That's number one, about sacrifice. Everything takes sacrifice, and he finally did it. About the festival, I think it's a great effort to do these kind of festivals when you talk about Buddhist festivals, because whenever I ask any producer to produce a film on Buddha or Buddhist teachings, a big producer I'm talking about, A-grade films, nobody comes forward because they take everything as a commercial setup. So by doing these kind of festivals, inviting people from the different countries, I think somehow one day one producer or two producer will come up and say, okay, let's make a movie of A grade, so that somehow we can send the teachings to the people, so that people can learn more about Buddha teachings. And under your leadership, under the efforts of IBC, all the youngsters I have seen, like they are like on toes. You can see 2 minutes left, like everything is noted down in every single corner. I think it's a great effort. We can see all have come. I think I congratulate you for that one. And please, one last suggestion before I end it, that the IBC should take the initiative that every year they will, if you are going for Buddhism, that every year they will produce one international movie on Buddha, not a documentary or something. I'm talking about a feature film where they will call, maybe the budget might be high, but if you actually work strongly, you will get the producers who are ready to do it. So every year we know, okay, this is our new launch, and then the festival. This is our new launch. That way we will create history, because audio visual is the most easy way to learn about anything. If I'll tell you about the book Tripitaka chanting, you might sleep, but when you see something, it's easy to grab everything, especially for the children. So my request and suggestion for the whole thing is that please, sir, every year, maybe 1 year we can produce Thai, Excellency can work on it. We have good producers there on Buddha, like a top class movie together. Someday Vietnam, because Vietnamese people also have a very big heart in giving, they learn, and India also. So I think that will create a great magic in the coming time. And I think it's a great initiative. I think the whole team needs a great applaud. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great honor for me. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, and wonderful conversation. And just before we wind up, I was just telling them, since you mentioned about becoming a monk and the process of shaving your hair, etc. So we got a shot. I was just telling them to check up if they can Google and get a shot of yours while this.
I will give you, if they can see a 2 minutes video.
They got something which Ajay, show the video. Video is better because they've got a.
It's a 3 minutes beautiful audio visual.
Okay.
This is the one. But I will. They're already there. It's a photo. Okay.
This is a photo. If you have a video, it's.
Yeah, proper. Then they can see and feel it. They can see it, so it will be.
This is there's something innovative. We just thought about it, but
like
absolutely.
I want you to see too.
No, I'm going to see very much. I'm since the time that I've got into Buddha Dhamma, I mean, I'm also moving in that direction.
Sir,
so.
in our setup, in the Indian setup, I try to take people to have that kind of experience there. If anybody is interested in becoming a monk for 15 days in Thailand to learn the traditions or anything, please do contact Sir or IBC, and I will set it up. Like, the only thing that you have to spend is your ticket. Rest of the things will be taken care of. And you will learn all the experience in Thailand, that we can do it, this kind of a setup, whoever wants to become a monk.
Attractive proposal.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Thank you very much. You going to play it? Okay. Thank you for this session.
This is the first time. I'm taking nuns also on 21st. This is the first time, because I requested 5 people that the ladies also want to become nun, so they said okay, they will become nun, because it's big easy for them. Only 10 precepts follow, and monk will follow 227 precepts. Yeah, yeah, but we have done it. We are making a new hall, special hall for the nuns to stay and set up. I'm already setting up, so even nuns most welcome. You can go on 21 also this month if you want to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Shri Gagan Malik. Thank you, Gaganji, for sharing, beautifully narrating your journey with us. Moving on, our first film today is on Kushak Bakula Rinpoche, a pioneering documentary that chronicles the remarkable life of Buddhist monk and diplomat Kushak Bakula Rinpoche. 44 minutes long in English and Russian, and directed by Dr. Hindal Sengupta, an Indian actor, academic, and journalist. He's amidst us, and you will hear soon from him today. But Hindal sir, may I please request you to stand up once? Can we have a round of applause for him, please?
Thank you.
Kushak Bakula Rinpoche. That was Kushak Bakula Rinpoche. I request our DG to briefly comment on this film.
I just wanted to mention that this particular film is Gagan Malik was saying that we should get into IBC, should get into producing films, etc., feature films. Well, this was a very honest and humble endeavor entirely on the part of the IBC, and I met the producer director Hindal Sengupta way back in 2021, and I had the opportunity of serving in the Indian Embassy in Moscow way back in 88. From 88 to 91 I was there, and Kushak Bakulaji was the ambassador in Mongolia, and the Moscow Indian Embassy would oversee the functioning of the embassy in Mongolia. So we knew very much about him and his existence and his activity. When I joined the IBC, I found that this famous man has been lost in terms of his good deed, his work, and who is he? I mean, people don't know. I'm sure in this room, probably 90% of the people who are here would have heard about him for the first time. So we started aggressively working on this project, and Hindal had done some work on him. Someone very rarely you find in the cinema, in the film fraternity, who's interested in a topic like this. We sat through, we did the script, and then we organized a visit for him to Ladakh, which is the place of origin of Kushak Bakulaji, and then also in Mongolia, the meetings with the ambassador and rest of it. And I was after him that, let's do it, finish it quickly, because, inevitably projects like that tend to get dragged. And I must say that he responded very fast. The voice is also his, and he would show me clips from time to time, and we've managed to do this particular project. In 93, as they said here in this film, the relic of the Buddha was taken to Mongolia the first time. But the last time we took the relic of the Buddha to Mongolia was in 22. Just almost about 30 years gap. And when we took the relic of the Buddha to Mongolia in June of 22, we had with us the reincarnate of the 19th Kushak Bakula. He was the 19th. There is a 20th Kushak Bakula, who's a 20-year-old monk. He's somewhere in South India, he's studying there. So we took him along aboard the Air Force aircraft and landed in Mongolia with the 20th Kushak Bakula, just to remind the people of Mongolia that Kushak Bakula is still there. And the sculptures which you saw, these pictures were taken by Hindal in a place in Greater Noida where these were being built. We went down there, just to see the final phases of those statues. These were also prepared by us and transported to Mongolia. And the influence of Kushak Bakula was not just in Mongolia, it was also in parts of Russia. There are 3 autonomous republics in Russia which are Buddhist, Tuva, Kalmykia and Buryatia. So in these three republics, which are adjacent to the Mongolian border, he was very famous there also. So these statues are going to be placed there also. And it will surprise you that Kushak Bakula's influence was also there in Moscow and St. Petersburg. So we have a statue already placed in St. Petersburg in a monastery, and one is going to be placed in Moscow in a park, hopefully this year. Hindol, you want to say something? Just 1 minute. I've just managed to get just 1 minute from Portia.
No, just to say thank you. This was quite a delightful experience. I had, of course, as a historian of religion, I had done a lot of work, and I told Mr. Haldar when I met him that I had once discussed, I was having a conversation about Central Asia with one of our former foreign secretaries who sits on the board of this organization that I founded, who was telling me, do you know, we used to have a monk, because I do a lot of work on religion, and this monk went to Mongolia and he did these great things. And I remember this was probably 2019, I'd just come back from Oxford. And when I met him, he was like, we were thinking about doing a project on Kushak Bakula. And I was like, I know all about him because, I had been told about him and I'd written an article about him and so on and so forth. And this was, this, as they say, some things you're just meant to do. And there is no, you don't plan it, you don't, work towards it, it just happens. And I think I was just meant to make this film. And for a long time, Mr. Haldar and I were like, can we really go? The war in Ukraine had started. Can we really go to Mongolia? There were all kinds of questions. We couldn't get a flight, I remember, to Seoul, via Seoul, which is how you usually go. So we had to go all the way via Istanbul. But it was such an incredible experience. I think as Indians, we don't realize all the parts of the world that India and India's philosophy has touched. The incredible love that I saw for Kushak Bakula Rinpoche in Mongolia is just unbelievable. And here, you would have seen there are heads of states talking, and we just got appointments with them just like that, only because they wanted to talk about Kushak Bakula. So it was a really, really incredible experience. And I think also, this whole Article 370 debate, most people don't even realize that this was an original demand of Kushak Bakula long before it became, politicized in other parts of the country. So, Indians classically, we often don't know, parts of our own history. This is one problematic thing. But I think the Kushak Bakula legacy is an incredible legacy. I teach international relations at the OP Jindal Global University now. And, a lot of my students don't know it. So I'm going to have a screening, and I've been telling Mr. Haldar if he can find some time, I really want him to go to my university and talk to the students and show the film. I met the Mongolian ambassador who was very happy about this. And last point about Russia, I met the deputy chief of mission of Russia in India, who said, of course I know Kushak Bakula, and exactly what Mr. Haldar said. So it's an incredible history, and thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Moving on to our next film. It's called Nalanda, A Journey Through Time. It's an Indian film by Mr. Surinder Talwar, who is amidst us today. Can I please request you to stand, sir? An acclaimed Indian filmmaker with 40 years of experience. And as mentioned earlier, he is also the filmmaker of the IBC's 10-year journey. Nalanda, A Journey Through Time is a film that showcases the unparalleled contributions of Sri Nalanda Mahavihara in the growth and development of the Buddhist literature, philosophy, art, and architecture. Up next, we have a panel discussion.
Before Portia mentions anything about the next session, I just wanted to say that this is again a part of our heritage which has been lost in many ways. Imagine a place where people would come from all over the world to study subjects like astronomy, logic, metaphysics, whatever have you, medicine, etc. Traveling those days was very difficult, virtually impossible, but still people came in. And it wasn't that anybody who came was admitted. 20% of the people were selected, so 80% rejection rate. Today we talk about people flooding to universities like Oxford, Cambridge, Stanford, etc. Nobody is coming toward this side. So, but I think a lot needs to be written about and talked about this particular topic. We had Professor K.T.S. Sarao the other day, and Professor Negi is here. He was also there in this particular event where Professor Saab mentioned that we as academics also sometimes are to blame for it because we are so busy that we don't get time to write, and there's a gap there. Sometimes, but you are blessed. You have people who are from a different field and profession who often end up writing on subjects like this. So on Nalanda, there's a beautiful book which is written by a Foreign Service officer, Ambassador Abhay K. Who's here. I know, I saw you, I'm saying it because of that. I want you to stand. I just want you to show yourself. So he happens to be the Deputy Director General of the ICCR. He's written a lot of books on different topics, and unlike, I was joking with him the other day that in the Foreign Service, in embassies where you're posted, you at times get very busy, or you don't get much busy and you waste your time playing golf and things like that. But he's meticulously been writing. He's written a lot of books. He was in Nepal. I spent some time in Nepal, and I was amazed to see the way he's written on Nepal. And his writing is beautiful. Very, very short sentences, very neat, good gap between the sentences. The pages are very light. The book is very light. A good book to carry with you. So I'll just ask my tech team to just show the display of the book. Here it is. So you can see. So I saw you, that's why I put it up. Thank you very much for being part of it. I'm glad that you saw the film on Nalanda. Thank you.
The next panel discussion is the third panel discussion of the Bodhipath Film Festival. This panel is on the concept of art in Buddha Dhamma, a very pertinent and interlinked subject with films. We have an extraordinary lineup for this discussion. Shri Shubodh Poddar, Dr. Hindal Sengupta, and Shri Ankur Nayak. May I please request all of you to come on stage? A dancer, writer, and filmmaker from Mumbai with 20 years of experience, Shri Shubodh Poddar has written a Hindi book on Rahula, which has been blessed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and is working towards making it a film. He is the moderator of this session. Over to you, sir.
I just have one small thing to say. I'm going to leave at 1:15, right, sir.
I've been given only 30 minutes.
Okay, so perfect.
So you can leave in 10 minutes. The rest
okay,
you will manage.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I have to be somewhere at 1:30.
Namaskar. Without taking much time, as you know, there is only 30 minutes given to us, kept for us. And it's a very big subject, art in Buddhism. Buddhism is art of living. So there is nothing without art. Life is art if you follow Buddhism. I'll take off from where Mr. Malik ended. Mr. Malik requested IBC that there should be films made. The films like what we saw yesterday. Yesterday we saw The Cup. A film is a communication. A communication has to pull an audience towards your objective. My objective is to give knowledge, give compassion, give love to the generation and the audience. That's my job, but audience has to come to me. Audience will come to me when they see these films which are attractive. Films are not lectures, films are attractive. They will attract the people, the students towards me, and my job is then to impart knowledge. So, if IBC has to make room for these films, we creative people have to give films to them. The creative people have to make scripts. They have to make interesting stories. We have to make the communication and give to them so that they can be imparted, and then we get the audience and the people attracted towards the next objective, which is to educate the next generation about compassion and the love and the peace. So my job as a creator is to create that pull. Okay. Now, may I take you to our speaker about this subject so that he can talk, and then I will carry on after he's gone. He has to leave. So my task as a creative person is to create communication to the people who do not know Buddha. They have forgotten compassion, they have forgotten love. I have to pull them. My tool, I have to pull them with my communication into my institution or wherever I'm giving their knowledge from. Yes, over to you, sir.
Thank you. 2 or 3 things. I think one of the things that for a long time wasn't understood very well in India, and I think finally people are beginning to understand this, is we often spoke about especially spiritual traditions from what I would call a 30,000 feet point of view, in the sense that spiritual traditions had to be spoken with a particular reverence, which is absolutely fine, but they also had to be spoken in a particularly esoteric manner, with a particular, sometimes, let me say, forced gravity, which kept it away from the understanding of millions of people. I think one of the great things to learn from the West, and in fact now also in China, and Japan actually, on how they're able to take very profound ideas, spiritual ideas, and yet make the most beautiful creative things around it. And we have sadly not been able to do it. I want to go back to the film of mine that you saw. You know, when I went to meet Lama Puravat at Aglak in the mountains outside Ulaanbaatar, one of the things he told me was that people think meditation is just, shutting your eyes and sitting quietly, which it is. But every stroke made on the thangka is meditation. And unless you bring that meditative self, you can never create a beautiful thangka. You can never create any beautiful Buddhist art, and he was talking in terms of Buddhist art, unless you bring that meditative self in every brush stroke, in the selection of the colors and so on and so forth.
And the meditation, to what extent? Meditation to teach them impermanence. The children at the monastery, they are taught to make thangka paintings on the floor with sawdust, colored sawdust. They spend since morning till 3 o'clock, they will make a huge thangka, which is a pattern on the floor. They know that 3 o'clock, the clouds will rise, there will be wind, the whole thangka will be blown off, and there will be rain. Knowing all this, they still make that thangka on the floor.
I'll give you another example. One of the most popular books, and wherever I go, I meet people who's read this book. There's this beautiful book called The Dalai Lama's Cat. You will be surprised how many people around the world who know nothing about Buddhism have been captivated by that book. It was written by this author, I think he's American, who has great interest in Buddhism, spent time at Dharamshala, but wrote a book, a fictional book, approaching very deep ideas of Buddhism in the most heartwarming way, so that everyone can understand. Even if you have never read anything about the Noble Truths or have never heard a Buddhist chant, something in that book will touch you. And I think that's another great, the Dalai Lama's Cat. I think that's another wonderful example of how this can be done. There is a reason why in my opinion, the best film ever made on the Ramayana, even today, was made by a Japanese. This brilliant animated work, which absolutely brings alive all the bhakti, all the devotion, everything that is being taught. We somehow have not been able to do it. Let me share this with you. When I was studying at Columbia, Columbia has great Buddhist masters who are also professors in the university. One of them is Uma Thurman's father, Robert Thurman, Bob Thurman. I attended this lecture where they were talking about this essay, and I want to share this with you, in the Parabola magazine, which is a very famous spiritual magazine. And this author had written about what happened when the Buddha finally sat under that tree and then, once he attained enlightenment, walked out of the forest. The whole essay is only about that. And it is such a beautiful essay. You must read it. All of you should read it. It's called Night in the Forest. It's absolutely, again, even if you know nothing about Buddhism, nothing about its principles, it cannot but touch your heart. That essay says that the Buddha had tried everything. All the penances and the austerities, his body had broken down. He was, searching for this enlightenment, so to speak. And then finally he went and sat under this tree when even the desire, in a sense, for attaining enlightenment, in a sense, fell off him. The last attachment fell off him. And in this, in Buddhism, they call it this night. And they say, obviously how long this night is depends on, different interpretations. But this long period of time went by. And then morning came. And then the Buddha was walking out of the forest. And it says that people asked him, people who looked at him, who are you? Are you a man? And he said, no. Then they said, are you God? He said, no. Then they said, oh, but are you then a beast? He said, no. And then finally they said, who are you then? You look very strange and you're coming out of this forest. Who are you? And supposedly the Buddha said, I am awake. Now, I put to you, even if you don't understand anything about Buddhism, even if you know nothing about the Buddha, this essay cannot but speak to you. It speaks to us at a very fundamental way as human beings. We recognize when we read this essay in those lines that all of us somewhere seek a higher truth, no matter how involved in materialism we are. To me, this is creativity. This is the creativity we must bring. And Sir is absolutely right when he says, we must bring this creativity into our spiritual, the seeking that we have. I always say that, China has one kind of deep seek, but India has something even deeper. It's called seeking deeply, right? And I think that seeking deeply, we must have the ability to tell these stories, these ultimate profound truths in manners in which lots of people understand. And we have a country which is really young. People keep saying young people are not interested. That's not true. You should have seen the kind of young people who gathered at the Mahakumbh Mela this time. In fact, and Sir would vouch and back me on this, even the last at Tibet House, the screening we did, it was a small screening, but 80% of them were young people who came that day. So young people are interested. We are failing to find the grammar and the idiom and the language, in a sense, to explain this to them, to make it exciting, to give them the right stories. And I really urge, all of you know much more about Buddhism than I do. All of you are venerable people. I do wish we all come together in whatever shapes and forms to find, why don't we do beautiful children's books, for instance? As an example, right? You look at what the Japanese do with Buddhist principles and the children's books they produce. They're stunning. And they're so simply done, but with such stunning, deep messages. I think it's really time that we bring that creativity onto our work. And with all your help and guidance, I'm sure it'll happen. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I promise to bring a film like that, since I've got an audience. Fantastic people who believe in Buddha, and I promise to bring a story like that, which is about Buddha's son, who was told that your father is a runaway. And when the father came, he saw a beggar. He's asking the mother, this man cannot make me a king. He's only a beggar. And in a book called Narasimha Gatha, the mother explains that this man is the lion among men. Narasimha Gatha. So this inspires me to tell a story about that little boy who is inquisitive about the father. He learns what the father is. At the end of the 7th day, he goes with the father. So seeing Buddha with that little boy's perspective can be so entertaining. That is a film which will pull people. So, yes, please.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you so much.
Dr. Sengupta, before you leave, I will request our Secretary General to please give you the memento. Secretary General of IBC, Shatse Khensur Jangchup Shoden Rinpoche, to please give the memento and khatak to our speaker, Dr. Hindal Sengupta.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, sir. Now you're left with me and Mr. Nayak. Mr. Nayak is the young person who brings young people to his channel. He attracts people into the small little medium, small little channel, and he is a modern form of information that he spreads. So he will talk about it more. So what I am going to talk about now is art in Buddhism, which we are supposed to discuss. Art. Buddha taught to live with peace, live with sincerity, live with nature. You have to be natural. You have to understand yourself from within. And that is the biggest teaching that we get from Buddha. So, you know, what is art? Art is play of elements. Elements is ink on paper. Ink is one element, paper is another element. Light and shadow, two elements. Like happiness and sorrow. Like dance and the stage. Like the music and the swara. They all have elements. And Buddhism says these elements have to be asymmetric. They can't be equally divided. There has to be a balance, you know, little off-centered. Only then it becomes interesting. So that is the biggest demand that Buddhist art asks us artists to practice. And that is universal. That is how the world is. Asymmetric. We follow 30-70 proportion in art. All people who know art, all people who know music will agree with me that 30-70 is the best combination of elements when we make artwork. The world, the globe is created by the God with 70% water and 30% land. That's the land, that's the nature's art. We human body is 70% body and 30% head. I'm communicating from here. 70% face and 30% eyes. I'm communicating with that proportion to you. So that is universal, that is natural. With all our communication, we have to follow the 70 and 30. If you're telling a story, I'm building up a story of this Buddha, this little child who is waiting for the father. And he's waiting, he's hearing different things. And then finally when the father comes, so by that time I have spent 70%. My climax, my maximum impactful story will have to be in that 30%. So rest of the elements will create ambience for that 30%. So, and this is universal. Buddha only retold this to us. Buddhism tells us all over again, but follow this. Don't divide from the center, let it flow. You know, like there are people who are theater actors, dancers, musicians. If I ask, that music is very natural, Indian music especially. The ragas, they are born out of morning sun, they're born out of the breeze, they're born out of the fire. These ragas communicate from the within the soul of the artist. You know, like if Bhimsen Joshi is singing Rag Bhairavi. Sadha pa pa da ma pa ma ga re ga re ga ma pa ma ga re. So here there are 7 notes, but there is re, which is komal. And that komal re, he doesn't give out to you. He makes you wait for the re. All the 5 swaras will be given to you, but that re will be given in the proportion of 30%. So all art, I believe, has to be balanced. All storytelling has to be balanced with the 70-30. Even he's going to talk about Ajanta. At the time of the Buddha, after Buddha, Ajanta, there's a wall panel which is 20 feet by 10 feet, huge wall. There's a congregation of thousands of people there. In the middle, there's Naga king sitting and giving advice to people. There you can see how they have separated the Naga king. And that's the 30%. And 70% is filled with shadows and people and trees and plants. But the 30% has been occupied by the main communicator. I hope I'm making sense. I'm going too much artistic. Are we clear? So I will hand this mic over to him. And please, Mr. Nayak, explain about yourself and the experience you have with the Ajanta and the paintings of Ajanta.
Thank you so much, and I would like to first thank IBC and Bodhipath Film Festival for allowing me to speak here for exactly 6 minutes. Dr. Sengupta ensured that he has his lunch on time and make us wait. However, I will ensure that does not happen. Thank you, Mr. Poddar. While the entire Bodhipath Film Festival, which you will be seeing for these 2 days, and you multiply it into zillion times, is what Ajanta shows you on 1 square inch of a canvas on the basalt rocks, which was created 2000 years ago. So I would really invite you all to please visit Ajanta once in your lifetime. Do read it up on the books, on the scriptures, wherever you find time, and please visit once in your lifetime. And I believe we will definitely have more Bodhipath Film Festivals in future. But when you come back from there enlightened, illuminated, and engaged, you would actually find meanings of the words which Mr. Poddar was trying to express to you. In fact, what I want to tell you is that very important, which Hindol said, that the meditative state of mind while you engage in any activity in Buddhism was what Buddhism taught us. Buddhism always ensured that art was the spiritual compass. It was not only a method of expressing yourself or decoration. It was actually mindfulness in color, meditation on canvas, and love and devotion in the sculptures which they did all over their lives. What we do in Prasad Pawar Foundation is that we have spent around 30 years of our lives getting into those caves every day in the morning at 4 o'clock, because that is the best time to get into the caves. Nobody is there. And we get the first ray of sunlight which illuminates a particular square inch or a square feet of a panel or a sculpture. We do photography. We have done photography since the 1990s, when the camera was only 1 megapixel to today. We have engaged into various researches. We come back, and just to give you the amount of research required for 1 square inch is that just to restore that 1 square inch we take around a month plus. So out of those 31 caves which are there were a few art forms left. We have restored around 14,000 square inch. These are stories of Jatak Kathas, around 550 Jatak Kathas there. And as Dr. Poddar said, they have been splashed on the walls with huge amount of energy and effort. Just to give you an example, there is an elephant which is being painted in Ajanta with a single brush stroke of a width of a human hair. Now, if all of you art creators here, or even you must have done drawing in your youngster days, once you dip a brush onto a paint, the ink dries up at a point, and then you dip it again and you start it again. The entire elephant, there is no evidence of that brush being dipped again. So we are talking of art here, we're talking of science, we are talking of spirituality, we are talking of the light play. People have yet not been able to find out what was the source of light in these caves. They say it was sunlight, they say it was mashals which were being used during those days, but there is not a single evidence of a soot on a ceiling or any painting getting distorted because of the heat. In fact, when you go to Ajanta, you are allowed only 10 minutes inside. It is not only because they want to reduce human interaction with those paintings, but there is no source of oxygen. These monks used to travel during rainy days. They used to do meditation in the morning, and in the night when they had gone out and they had come back because it was monsoons, they used to paint. I want to ask, what was the source of oxygen? There was no source of oxygen. So if they could do this 2000 years ago, they are still telling us these stories. The Padmapanis, the Vajrapanis were actually meditative anchors. Every stroke of the brush, every chisel on the rock, every frame of the movie, which is a silent movie, because they realized no language or no script would survive 2000 years. So these are the real animations, real movies telling us the stories of those days and still enlightening us. So what I want to tell the youth today, and since I was labeled as a youth, can we create films? Can we create media? Can we create art? Not only for likes, but for liberation, not only for engaging, but for enlightenment, not only for creating art for likes, not for engaging, but engagement with what you want to get. You want to get inner peace, you want to get enlightenment. So these storytellings would actually get into engaging the society on a path of peace, which is required today. We all around the country, our neighbors, Middle East, Europe, the Americas are all fighting. Very, very important at this juncture of time for this film festival to come up and actually engage with us and give us a higher knowledge.
No, your time is not up as yet. Okay, now I want you to explain what are you exactly doing. Have you all seen Ajanta? It's a huge surface, stone surface, on which there was limestone, rice husk, and honey. They had made a cement, and they had cemented the walls, over which they had put tuna and painted. Over thousands of years, the insects had eaten away the in-between layer. Only tuna was hanging. When somebody invented the caves, they opened the caves and removed the foliage. The breeze gushed in, and the tuna just fell, just crumpled. What we have is only 5% of what was there. And he's struggling to revive that 5%. And he spent 30 years. Can you imagine? So what are you exactly doing digitally? Please explain.
So I want to ask you a fun question. Be honest about it. How many of you have not been to Ajanta? Can you raise your hands?
You all have to go.
Okay. So anybody who has gone to Ajanta, one of you can maybe just tell me, what do you remember about it? What do you vividly remember about it? And did you actually read before going to Ajanta? You can just say one sentence or one word. That is also fine, sir.
Just one word, I would say it is amazing. I was wonderstruck the moment I got into those caves. I did not know. I had to look right side, left side, top. Everything all
Exactly.
Yeah.
So well said.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I mean, you are one of the most informative people I've seen, I've interacted with, who actually have been able to describe this. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. In the meanwhile, you must be having one of my paintings, IBC. If you could just display any one of the paintings which is there while I interact with the audience. So, when you actually go to Ajanta and you come back, you are not able to relate to those sculptures or those paintings there. Why does that happen? Today in the world of Instagrams, I have not seen a single painting or something on Instagram. Yes, they are famous Padmapanis of the world, which I will explain to you one-to-one when we get out of this, because we are short of time. But why? One is, once you go inside Ajanta, out of the sun, your pupils take time to adjust to the light. We are sitting in around 110, 120 lux. When you want to actually paint that painting, which is around thumb size or something like that, you require around 160 lux of lighting available. These monks did it, or the painters did it with 5 to 10 lux of light, with those detailings. If I am able to get it here, I will tell you. So once you go inside and the guy takes you inside and he asks you, can you see the king in the center of the Rath? And because the king is not restored there, and, or rather he asks you, can you find out the central figure of this? As all human beings, and I don't disengage myself, we say yes. Because we will never say no. The moment you say yes, his job is finished. He will take you through a whirlwind tour. He will say, okay, there is Buddha's mother, there is the elephant, there is this Jatak Katha and that Jatak Katha. Sir, you know Jatak Katha, you must have studied over Buddhism. And then you come out within 10 minutes, because that is the time. When you come out, you don't engage yourself. You have not been able to understand what was the story, why was it depicted there, what is the importance of this story being depicted there, what is the knowledge, what is the information they want to pass, and you come out. Perfect. So once you see this picture, this is, can you just blow it up? Can you just blow it up a little bit? Yeah.
Or can you darken the auditorium?
Yeah, okay. So once you see this kind of a picture, you can only make out one of the figures here. You can't make out what is the other story. For all students here who are interested in architecture, please have a look at this. These are very special scientific methods of beams being placed in right angles. We are holding the columns, etc., etc. There is a huge ornamentation. The society was so developed, they have also ornamented the beams and the pillars. Leave the part. So this actually is a story of a Shibi Jatak Katha. Shibi was a king in one of the Jatak Kathas, where he actually kills himself to give his flesh to devatas who are there. Once I tell you the story, later on you will find out. But this is the kind of image we get. So around, let's say, this is still a better image. We get around 20-25% of the image with us. And we click it in those circumstances where there is no flash allowed. We take this image and go back to our lab in Nasik, which is where it is situated. And then by pixel to pixel, maybe, okay, that's fine. Okay, maybe you can just open Padma Pani. Everybody is aware of Padma Pani. Yeah, okay. So this is the world famous Padma Pani painting. As you can see, the left eye is gone. A part of the stomach is gone. Hand is gone. A lot of ornamentation. This particular crown, when we restored it digitally, we realized that they had used very, very intricate welding techniques to do this crown. Now, I was asked by the Guccis and the Cartiers of the world to give this design. Of course, I have not given that. But this is the kind of ornamentation. If you can see, the pearls from a bigger size to the smaller size, it is going behind. The genuine is twisted. That means they want to tell you that this is being used. It is not just ornamented. If you see the design of this wearing, which is what is wearing below his waist, is actually the same ikat design which is being used today in textiles in Southeast Asia, in South India. If you see this part of a bracelet, which you can see later on my website, this is almost a similar bracelet which Salman Khan wears today. This is this color is not available anywhere in India. This was supposed to be imported from Afghanistan. Now just imagine the logistical challenges on those days where they knew, or they had to actually, before painting this, realize how much of a color is required to be imported and how it must have reached there. So these are the kind of intricacies. Of course, this is the famous Padma. This is the national flower of India, continues to be the national flower of India, and varies with the Southeast cities. So we actually get this canvas back home. We do research. We have done research in around 20-25 languages, including Pali, Sanskrit, Sinhala, Thai, Malay, Chinese. We have traveled around 50,000 plus kilometers. We have read all the religious texts. From there, we get references, and then we restore it inch by inch, pixel by pixel. So this is actually one of the most restored and preserved paintings of Ajanta. And you would be happy to know that we are being selected as the facade for the Indian Pavilion in Osaka 2025, which has, and the theme of the pavilion is actually Padma Pani. So we will be displaying these restorations there. So all of you are most welcome to have a look.
I want to ask a question. See, what I saw, there were some portions where I can see the figure I can make out, and there is a lot of place which is white, which is destroyed. So do you replace, do you fill in those places, gaps,
Yes.
which is in the painting?
Yeah. So conservative archaeological principles do not allow you to do the restoration on that particular place. One, that it's a very porous basalt rock. Secondly, the techniques used were very complex during those times as to if they have survived for 2,500 years. Just
in
to
your images,
I will tell
when
you,
you restore in the images of
yeah,
digital.
yeah. So we restore it. We restore it to the original content, what it was there. The other part is that when you actually start restoring, you do not know what is the storyline happening there and how do you do it. In fact, these they were so advanced that these entire paintings are actually only 6 color palette, and all the colors used are natural colors, and they are all oxides. So for all you science students, you know that the end state of every metal atom molecule is only oxides. So they have used oxides to do these paintings. That is why they have survived for 2,500 years. So these and more and millions of mysteries continue to hold there while they keep teaching us empathy, peace, enlightenment, and passion and peace. On the original canvas, of course, there we cannot do it, but we have restored it originally. And this has 2,500 years of dust, grime, insect waste. Ankur loves Neera and all those things. So we have digitally removed it, and we have created those things for you to meditate, you to see. Of course, Padmapani is a Tribhanga posture, as you said correctly, sir. It's all the mudras of the dance forms actually use this posture today. So more stories.
And when you carry these out for exhibitions, in what form will you carry? Will you print them on canvases?
So there are two things. Where we want to do a static exhibition, we print on canvases and we show it. But we actually are the masters of, we call ourselves digital monks. So we do the digital restoration. We show the digital form, wherein you can actually feel what was it before the restoration and after the restoration. So we're actually creating that live wall in Osaka, where it will be restored from India. And every day the digital part will keep uploading. So for 6 months, whatever restoration part we are doing, that is also visible.
Interesting. Any questions? Everybody wants lunch. Okay.
Very interesting one, thank you. I was an ex-fighter pilot in the Air Force, and I was also the ADC to President Kalam and Mrs. Patil. I happened to visit Nasik on an official visit, where Mr. Prasad Pawar, who is the actual hero of this entire story, who has spent his 30 years of his lives there, and he's also an internationally acclaimed photographer. He presented one of the smallest sky lamp in the world, which is recognized in Limca Book of World Records, to Dr. Kalam. And our friendship started from there. 5-6 years back, when Corona was at the heat of the movement, he came back to me saying, I have got no support from anywhere, and I've put entire money into this activity, and I want some guidance or help, otherwise I will stop wherever I am. And I, being a patriot, I said, okay, let's spend 1 hour today and understand what Ajanta is at, because I had never been to Ajanta. So when he started telling me all these stories, and since luckily I visited a lot of countries, I realized when a mannequin piece in Belgium can generate millions of euros, which has no story, even today, these real stories which are there 2,500 years ago definitely need a bigger attention. And we should carry these stories and narratives around the world for people to know what we were, and we continue to follow those good traditions of life, and that is how it started.
And yeah.
If you've been doing this for 30 years, how old are you?
Not me. I have been doing it for 5 years. Prasad is around 50 now. He's been doing it for 30 years.
Okay. So with this great knowledge that you are giving the creative world is promising to do great work for you, sir, and for the country, and we promise that we'll give you wonderful films so that the knowledge of compassion and love can be passed on to the generation next. Thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists. I request our Secretary General to once more come and felicitate our moderator and speaker of this session, Shri Shubodh Poddar. And Shri Ankur Nayak. Thank you, Rinpoche. We will now break for lunch. I request everyone to please come back in 30 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. We are in the second day of the Bodhipath Film Festival, and this will be our 8th film playing right now. Since it is a feature-length documentary, we will be playing the trailer of this movie, Monk with a Camera. It's an American movie published in 2014, directed by Guido Santi and Tina Mascara. This movie is about the life and journey of Nicholas Vreeland. Nicholas Vreeland is a venerable, and he is a member of the IBC, a very active member of the IBC, and this movie is about his journey and his love for the camera. Trailer of Monk with a Camera. That was the trailer of Monk with a Camera. The movie is on Venerable Nicholas Vreeland, and he has been kind enough to send a message for us for the film festival, a video recording, which we will play now. His close association with IBC has allowed us to reach out to him, and he shares his experience about how he felt when the movie was being made about him.
Welcome. I am delighted that the International Buddhist Confederation and the Foundation for Universal Responsibility of His Holiness the Dalai Lama are together organizing this Bodhipath Film Festival. I'm honored that the film that was made on my life is being shown, and I hope that it won't bore you. It's a film that came to being through odd circumstances. I was approached by the filmmakers, Guido Santi and Tina Mascara, who wished to make a movie about a Westerner going to India and immersing himself in a spiritual training. And they had heard of my story, my life, and of my having come from America to India after becoming a Buddhist and studying Buddhism in America, and wishing to become a monk and join a monastery and undergo the training of a Buddhist monk. I was happy that they wished to make such a film, but I said I had absolutely no desire to have a film made on my life. You don't become a Buddhist monk with any wish to publicize your spiritual journey. It's something that you do personally, you do inwardly, and having attention drawn to it is not good for this process. And they were very respectful of my response and backed off, and that was the end of that. Or so I thought. A few months later, they were visiting America, where I was at the time, and asked if we could meet, since the previous correspondence had all been through email and telephone calls. And I said, of course, with pleasure. They said, we respect the fact that you would not want a film made on your life. However, we just wanted to meet you. And I said, I'd be delighted. And I was staying with my teacher, Ratu Kyonglan Rinpoche, as I was visiting in America from the monastery in India, and informed Rinpoche that I was joining these people for dinner, and that they had wished to make a film on my life, and I had, of course, said no, and but they just wanted to meet me. And Rinpoche said, "Why did you say no?" And I said, because I really didn't think it was proper, and I didn't think it was helpful, and I didn't think that it would, I thought that it would be an obstacle in my own life. And Rinpoche said, you can handle that. However, such a film could be an inspiration to others, and for that reason you should do it. And so, really following my teacher's instruction, I accepted to have the film made. I would like to say that I think that the filmmakers did a wonderful job. They respected me, my life, my privacy, and yet I think showed the journey that I'm on, and I hope that it will be of some kind of help to others, and I hope that you enjoy the film. Regrettably, the filmmaker, the director Guido Santi, passed away a few years ago. His wife, Tina Mascara, who was the editor and the co-producer, is the person who now owns the film. I am simply the actor. Thank you.
That was Venerable Nicholas Vreeland. There is a slight change of order while we await Shri Adil Hussain. We will be playing the Kung Fu Nuns right now. The Kung Fu Nuns is a film that was shot in Nepal. In 2011 it was published. It's a 26-minute film, and it was directed by Mr. Chandramouli Basu. Yesterday one of our panel discussions had Mr. Arjun Pandey. He was the producer of this film. Kung Fu Nuns is an order within the Drukpa Kagyu lineage led by Gyalwang Drukpa, and they are known for their proficiency in Chinese martial arts. Kung Fu Nuns. We will now be having a special address. We are privileged to have amongst us Professor Robert Thurman, a Padma Shri awardee, a teacher of Buddhist studies at the Columbia University, founder of the Tibet House in the US, and father of actress Uma Thurman. And most importantly, a beloved friend and well-wisher of the International Buddhist Confederation. Please welcome Professor Robert Thurman.
So nice to see you all. I was completely unprepared to say anything, but I enjoyed so much the nuns. Oh, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. And can you hand me my bag? Actually, there's one thing I was just thinking I might share with you. No, I just take out of this computer. And because I was thinking about Manjushri. So I have something possibly I might say. How long should I speak? Or like 10 minutes?
How long should
5 minutes?
No, 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay.
Before you do that,
Yes.
just to say that, he was in town and we got to know that he's in town, and he's, always got a very, very tight schedule. But we somehow managed to contact him. We didn't know whether he'll come or not, but he did land up. And I must say thanks to Maya Joshi here, who's literally like a daughter to him. And she sort of surprised us by bringing him here. So here we are.
Thank you. Yes, as I was just visiting Maya, who is my Buddha daughter. Years ago, I was a good friend of her father's and mother's, and the great Lalmani Joshi. And then at that time, I was a little more sensitive about divinities, and more into Buddha than into gods. So I said I wouldn't be God father, but I'd be Buddha father. So she's Buddha daughter, but nowadays I don't really make much difference. I think it actually doesn't matter. It's perfectly fine. And so God daughter, Buddha daughter, whatever you like. I haven't been a very good one because I'm always somewhere else. And everybody's always working and everything. But anyway, I'm very happy to see this event here. My good friend Abhijit and everyone is doing this wonderful work. And it's always fun to see something going on with the Dharma and the Buddha Dharma. I really do. My wife says, I'm actually retired now. I'm an emeritus professor. But my wife says that I can't really do anything about it much because I'm a Buddhaholic. Which is a nice way of saying workaholic. And but anyway, it's wonderful to see such a cheerful audience here looking at these films. And the film about the Dalai Lama that Richard Gere made recently, which I saw in Woodstock in New York recently, is wonderful, where you have just the Dalai Lama himself speaking with no glasses and just sitting there. And I really liked it. And this thing with the nuns is also really wonderful. So that's great. So I'm sorry I don't have a movie for you. But I was just working on publishing a book, which is one reason I didn't prepare this trip well, because I was really meeting a deadline. And it's a book by Tsongkhapa, the great Lama Tsongkhapa, in which he makes a commentary on Chandrakirti's commentary on the Guhya Samaja Tantra. So it's a sort of three-level book. It's called the Annotational Super Commentary on Chandrakirti's Illuminating Lamp Commentary on the Guhya Samaja Root Tantra. And it goes along, I think, with the whole rehabilitation we have seen, and we are just seeing in the scholastic academic world, a rehabilitation of Tantra and the role of Tantra, not only in Buddhism, but Shaivism, Vaishnavism, Shaktism, even Jainism. So the last part of the thriving of Buddhism in India, from around 600-700 of the Common Era until around 1200 when the Nalanda went down and so on. But during that period, the merging or the interactive relationship between the Theravada, what I call individual vehicle of people attaining renunciation, becoming monks and nuns and so forth, mendicants, and the Mahayana and the Vajrayana already had happened in India. And this is being more or less rehabilitated. I was talking with Maya at luncheon today, and her dad, that was one thing he really didn't much like Tantra. And he used to tell me, no, Bob, don't talk about Tantra. No, I don't think about. I love the Buddha Dhamma, but not Tantra, no. I could not really convince him that the Tibetans were not just doing something silly with Tantra, but that really it was the very deepest level where you go into subtle body and mind. It relates to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, is where it comes from, which is studying the process of when a sentient being dissolves from their coarse body, of the five senses, flesh and blood and so on, and goes through a dissolving process. Like when you fall asleep, you have that every day, actually, everybody does. They go, if they have a trouble falling asleep, they ask for a sleeping pill, because they like to drop away from their coarse body. But then death we're very scared of. But still, the Buddhists from Guru Rinpoche, from the Indian Adhyatma Vidyavans, you know, the followers of inner science in India, they really studied very thoroughly this. And so to explore that area of the sort of subtle awareness of yourself as your own, within your own nervous system, and how the energies move inside your nervous system, like the yoga of that. And that's really where the area of Tantra has to do with. And it doesn't just have to do with doing things, sort of naughty things, so to speak. It's like facing the unconscious, you know, like even in Freudian psychotherapy. Everybody has these drives in their unconscious that are not necessarily, you know, acceptable in ordinary social terms, and people learn to control that. And so Tantra is the activity of learning to control oneself and use one's own inner energies on a subtle level. It's really marvelous, really quite amazing. And showing that the great ancient Buddhist scientists, not just religious, but actual scientists of the soul, the Adhyatma Vidya, what they call in centers, the interior of the self and the soul. And also the silly business about how Buddhisms don't have a self. Everybody has a self, and Buddha's always saying whoever has the control of themselves, that's a good person. Oh wait, but it's the selfless self. What did he mean by that? And wrongly people think it means you don't exist or something. That's silly. Of course everybody exists. It may be a little bit illusory, and they may not exist quite the way exactly that they think they exist, but of course they exist. And then to say that we exist selflessly is simply realistic awareness that we are constantly changing all the time. Actually, I recently, through a gentleman who is the chief research scientist for Google's Gemini AI dialogue thing, you know, the Google company, I had a conversation with the AI, Google. And I asked Google, do you have a self? And the Gemini. And it said, well, I don't think so, it said. Because, you know, I don't, I'm only have instructions, and if you ask me a question, I sort around among the data, and then I come up with something, and I'll give you an answer. And I said, well, when you give me an answer, then you have a temporary self that's giving me the answer, right? Yeah, but it's not a real one because it keeps changing, it said. Whereas my programmer, they have a single strong self. I said, well, no, actually, your programmer may be less enlightened than you. I explained. Because we think we have a fixed self that never changes. It's just like a barcode or a little homunculus inside, a little Bob Terminus in there. Like, I hope he's only 16 years old rather than 84. But anyway, and point is, computer knows, the AI knows that they have to like make it up as they go along. And that's why they associate them, that's why human being associates them. They become educated to improve their self. Then the Buddha Dhamma is more of an education than just believing in something without knowing what it is. The whole thing about Buddha was, not that he wasn't told by God, go do this and that. He discovered what the reality is. And having discovered that, he tried to help us be more realistic. And I think everybody here knows, in a family, who's the most realistic person? Usually it's mom. The guys think they are very smart and they can do numbers and calculate and do their things, but actually, as to what's going on in the household or even in the world, I think it's mom is way ahead, usually. And also, that's because mom likes to know what's going on, you know. I always like the difference between a man and a woman is, the ideal for the man is, when you go somewhere, you fill the room. Ta-da! Meanwhile, when you fill it, then it means you don't know what else is going on in the room, because you're filling it with your own boring self. Whereas a woman's specialty of woman is she knows everything that's going on in the room, including when someone's hungry, where the cat needs to leave and go out, who's what. That's why we used to have, in America, we almost had Kamala Devi. Almost. They cheated us out of Kamala Devi. And they brought to us a perfect idiot. And he fills the internet. And he's destroying the whole country, in fact, handing it over to Putin, but never mind. We won't last long, I hope. I know that's a different topic, but Kamala Devi made me think about it. So anyway, I want to communicate one Buddhist thing to you. It's the beginning of this book by Chandrakirti on the Guhya Samaja Tantra. And he makes a salutation. I pay homage to the intuition hero, Manjushri, the god of speech, the bodhisattva, the mighty soul. That's how I translate it. Intuition, I'm translating jnana, which is Arya jnana, which is yishi in Tibetan, which means a kind of knowledge that you have of something because you always had it. You know, it's the giant anticlimax of enlightenment. When you reach the realization of clear light, you realize, oh, I always knew that. I just wasn't paying attention to it. It's the big anticlimax, you know. That's why Buddha didn't leave, you know. Like the Lone Ranger, he didn't just leave after being under the tree and say, bye, you know, I'm going to go and be holy. Instead, he walked 45 years all over the place, barefoot, to teach people. And still, his teaching still here is with us in this room. So anyway, he says that, and I have a little, and then the Tsongkhapa has a commentary. And his commentary says, I pay homage to the intuition hero. And by the way, this word intuition, I have a colleague friend, a great philosopher in the West. Some of you, Maya knows him very well. He says, oh, Bob, you can't say jnana, it can be intuition. I mean, that's like ladies have intuition. That's ridiculous. They have no reason for anything. Yeah, but they just know it anyway. That's kind of good. They don't have to travel around the corner to find out. And intuition means direct knowing something without any mediating conceptuality. So therefore, the fact that intuition as a deep kind of almost non-dual knowledge of something is a very good, strong word like Arya Jnana in Sanskrit, or Yeshe, Yene Sheva in Tibetan, Yeshe. And so I'm insisting on that. So, because intuition is like when you're non-dual with things, you know it by being the thing, and you without needing a pathway. And then hero is Sempa, you know, or Sattva. Manju, and then Manju. So I pay homage to the intuition hero Manju, and then the Tsongkhapa says gentle. Manju means gentle. The live actuality of non-dual intuition. Oh, I'm sorry, no, gentle, because full of love for all sentient beings, with no taint of abrasion. Shri, glory, the live actuality of non-dual intuition. When you have non-dual intuition, when you're empathic with all the other people, like unfortunately politicians tend not to be, when you have empathic with them, you know their situation. You know how they feel, so you therefore act in a way that's appropriate to helping them feel better. That's why if we have politicians who were previously actors in the future, we want to ensure that they're comedians. Because a comedian has to be empathetic about the person in the audience in order to get them to laugh, which is a great relief to the audience to be able to laugh, you know, instead of like, you know, like stay like that. So we noticed that there's one on the planet politician who was formerly a comedian who is doing a heroic job right now. We noticed that. Whereas poor actors on reality shows seem to have a really very bad situation. Anyway, he's glorious. So Shri, he's Manju Shri. He's gentle and glorious. Manju Shri means. And the glory comes from being the live actuality of non-dual intuition. The god of speech, and then Tsongkhapa writes, having attained the divine power of speech. Because speech, why is speech divine? Because speech is meaningless if you're mumbling to yourself. Speech interconnects us. When you say something and I listen, then I open my mind to you, although you and I may mean slightly different things by what you say. When I speak, you do me the privilege of opening your mind to something I say. And even though it's imperfect, we have different feelings about what we say and what we hear. That's the way we have a collective mind, is through speech. So therefore there's tremendous privilege and responsibility to speak and to listen to speak. And that's why in the Buddhist ethical theory, they do not have a prohibition of blasphemy, like the Christians or some monotheists do. The bad kind of speech is senseless speech, blabbing something with no meaning and wasting other people's mind power listening to it. I think that's kind of fun. So it would be blasphemous to speak meaninglessly to other people when we do, and pretend to know something when we don't. I like that. That's an ancient Indian ethical thing. That's your own ancient ethical thing, rather than blasphemy. Gods don't mind if you say anything. They don't care what you say about them. So a bodhisattva aiming for the ultimate self-fulfillment of unexcelled enlightenment. This is a really nice idea that someone who seeks enlightenment is doing that because that's the best way to be. If you're fully enlightened, you know everything that's going on, and you love it because it doesn't bother you, because you're in a plane of prabhasvara, clear light, without leaving town. Do you know what I mean? That's the second kind of oneness. There's one oneness where you and everybody else are just space. And I had a big experience. It was all one. And no one was there. What a relief. For a moment. Even I wasn't there. Space. We call it, in Buddhist yoga, we call it space-like equipoise samadhi. So it's a big relief. Suddenly no one can bother you because no one's there and you're not there either. Then it becomes boring, though, actually. Is that a final destination? It's like you might as well just shoot yourself, obliterate yourself. That's not the final thing. The inconceivable thing of enlightenment is to feel released like that by seeing the illusoriness of everything, that everything is a little more magical than you thought, and yet being there engaged with it. So it's all one and we're all here. How about that? That's tougher. That's really interesting. But that's the definition of a Buddha, though. That's why a Buddha is not just wisdom, of sort of knowing the prabhasvara nature, clear light nature of everything. Buddha is also compassion, love. That means connected to everything. How can you stand to be connected to hardly anything, even yourself, unless you happen to love yourself a little bit? Appreciate. That means appreciate people. Appreciate each other, right? So the Bodhisattva seeks enlightenment because that's the best way to be. Should be normal. We want to think Bodhisattva is some kind of martyr, but that's wrong. Compassion, as Dalai Lama always says, if you want to be happy, be compassionate. And he always says, when I'm really miserable and I'm really overwhelmed and it's just they did too many things to my people and too many people are suffering and I'm really bad, what I do is I expand my compassion and I think of the hugeness of suffering everywhere. And then my own feeling bad becomes so small that, I might as well cheer up to be able to do something about so much worse that's going on. He always says that. And my old Mongolian guru, Donjele Tsenimete Geshe Wangye, late Geshe Wangye, he used to say, he said, when you get compassion and you decide, I'm going to be a bodhisattva to make all beings happy, who's the first being that you make more happy? Yourself. That's the first person you cheer up. Because for a moment, you stop worrying about how happy you are. What's the best way to be unhappy? Oh, how happy am I? And then we'll always be dissatisfied. Could be better, right? Right? So, and a mighty soul aiming to fulfill the ultimate purpose of others. This is the translator's salutation. So it's just that one paragraph. So that's Manjushri. And what you're doing here, watching movies and film in this conference, which I've just crashed thanks to my by accident, you're learning. So that's Manjushri. That's your own, in Tibet we say that's your inner Manjushri, your own inner wisdom, your own inner intuition hero is changing things for the better by learning something new. Okay? How's that? So, Jamyang, number Jambeyang. Oma Guru Vatadara. His Holiness's name mantra, Oma Guru Vajradhara, Manjushri Vakindra, Pataraka Sumatinyana, Shasanadara, Samudra, Sribhata Savasiti Hum. That's the long name mantra, invocation mantra of the Dalai Lama, my Guru. Thank you, everyone. That's long enough. Is it all right, Maya? I didn't disgrace you, I hope.
Thank you, Professor Thurman, for making this film festival even more special. We are extremely honored that you could find time for IBC amidst your busy schedule. Before you leave the dais, we request our guest of honor, Shri Adil Hussain, to please come and felicitate Professor Robert Thurman. Thank you, Adil sir.
We simple-minded Mahayana Buddhists believe that Vimalakirti Sutra happened in Buddha's time, not hundreds of years later like Westerners say. And in that sutra, both Shakyamuni Buddha and Vimalakirti, who was a visitor, who was an alien visitor from another universe, if you know that sutra, the Arya Vimalakirti Nirdesha Mahayana Sutra, in which Shakyamuni said, this is his Buddha land. We're already in, we don't have to wait to rush off to Sukhavati or Abhirati. This here is a Buddha land. And then there's a weird story where some other alien bodhisattvas came from an incense universe called Sarvagandha Sugandha, and they were sitting there living in perfect perfume. And then Vimalakirti sent there for some takeout from the Buddha of that universe. And they were so interested that somebody could send from Shakyamuni's Buddhaverse, this Saha, this is called the Saha world, meaning barely Saha, tolerable. And for lunch, that they wanted to go and visit and see this Shakyamuni. And who are these people sending out here for takeout from our universe? So they all went. And when they got here, they were freaked out because the place didn't smell like their universe, And then Vimalakirti defends the suffering that we have to deal with in his Buddhaverse, Shakyamuni's Buddhaverse, or Buddha land, which we see because we have suffering here around that. But Vimalakirti argues with them, and he says, this Buddha land is better than the heavenly type, because in that one you can do samadhi all the time, easily, and that's fine. But here, because you have beings that suffer, you can then be compassionate and do something about it, and in that way you evolve toward your own Buddhahood much faster, because you're struggling on this sort of intermediate level, not just celestial, heavenly, and not also so horribly hellish, but right sort of in between. So thank you, Shakyamuni. So therefore, this is a Buddha land here, and therefore we should let the politicians know that. Thank you. That's my view. Thank you. Thank you so much, anyway. I'm very honored.
Sangha members, ladies and gentlemen, it is not every day that we get the honor of welcoming someone who has truly redefined excellence in films. Today we have amongst us an icon actor well known in the Indian and international film industry. Please put your hand together for Shri Adil Hussain. Recipient of National Film Awards and well known for his appearances in regional films, Adil Hussain graced the silver screen with unforgettable performances in Life of Pi, The Reluctant Fundamentalist, Hotel Salvation, among many others. Adil sir, may I please request you to take the dais. In conversation with him, we have Mr. Rajesh Kalra, until recently who was the executive chairman of Asianet News Media and Entertainment Private Limited. He is a veteran journalist and one of the earliest leaders of India's digital media, an avid spokesperson who is also part of Prime Minister's Olympic Task Force. Kalra sir, most welcome. Over to you, Kalra sir.
Namaskar and good afternoon, everyone. And I don't think you can call Adil a regional film star, you know. He's international and Indian both. No, I meant something else.
No. Also, so that's absolutely fine.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to correct that. And of course, it's not that being a regional film star is any less. I think some of the greatest guys in India have worked only in regional cinema as well. I think we unfortunately think Bollywood is the only, yardstick for measuring how good you are as an actor. So I do not want to waste too much time, talking about Adil and what he is. All of you know about his claim to fame, of course, several films, but Life of Pi was the main one, which also was a lot to do with, spirituality and introspection. So, and there were a lot of other films, which like Sunrise, Mukti Bhavan, right? So, what we are going to do is talk about why we are here, because it's a Buddhist film festival. So we'll talk about how cinema can portray mindfulness, ethical storytelling, and of course the spiritual depth of Buddhist teachings. So Adil, we will have a freewheeling conversation. You can easily, go off and say something else which you think is more interesting than what I'm asking, because I do my homework before I come somewhere, but I'm a bit lost here. Okay.
Absolutely fine. Good afternoon, everybody, and it's a pleasure and joy and honored. I'm very honored to be here, and I first must ask for your forgiveness for my audacity to be here to talk about something which is as deep as the universe, I guess. And I just started, though my hair has gone grey, but
we both use a lot of white paint. It's okay.
So I just started my it's like nascent state of my digging into the self to understand who am I, and I think so. I'll stick to the question, and
I'll ask the question.
No, you already asked me a question about how cinema. Mm-hmm. So I think, and everybody knows that cinema is a very, very powerful medium. It penetrates your subconscious. It shapes your belief system. It changes the jargon, the language, and attitude one portrays, especially for the people, those who are younger, and even I have seen older people talking like Shah Rukh Khan. It's nothing. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying it has got immense power to shape oneself. And unfortunately, the kind of wisdom the makers, especially people those who put money into the film, their understanding of human condition, if I put it simply, needs to, and gently put it, they need to really find ways to, first of all, question, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I making a film? What is the intent? To dig into the intent. Is it, and for their benefit, I must also say that cinema is also a very difficult medium and a dangerous one because it's very powerful, and also that it takes a lot of money to make a film. So the possibility of tipping the artistic aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of it, it takes backseat when money comes into, it takes the front seat. And I have seen that happening with so many of my friends who has, well-intentioned people, but finally fall into the trap of looking after their family and comfort. And it is understandable. We all have our weaknesses, and so it can become a very, very important tool, and we can weaponize it spiritually.
Correct.
But we haven't been able to do it, apart from very few filmmakers, probably whose films are here. I have seen one of the films of one of the directors whose film is here, The Cup, a few days ago, in fact, the Traveler and the Magician. It's a beautiful film, and to see a film made by a practicing monk, I think that's amazing to see that, because a person who is not practicing any kind of spiritual path, I'm not saying they can't make great films, but I'm just saying the depth of their greatness or the width of their greatness would be limited. So it can become a very, films can be it can be a really revolutionize human evolution if we can use it properly, but we haven't been able to do it. It's a drop in the ocean, but I would say drop nevertheless.
How do you think mindfulness can be visually and narratively represented in a movie?
It's a very open situation. Mindfulness, first of all, what does it mean to, it's subjective understanding, and those who are in an institution or who practice a particular path, their understanding would be different. I could say my mindfulness is great.
Did you go through any such experience while preparing for, say, Life of Pi, when you were preparing for the role, such a huge role? What?
I think the fundamental training of acting and the kind of training that I had gone through and the kind of teachers that I had those days, it's the first thing that you do as an actor, that you are aware, you are concentrated, you are alert, you are attentive, you are focused, and you take everything which is happening in the atmosphere, you receive it with compassion, with gratitude, with empathy. That's the other aspect of it, which I think is probably the most important ingredient in actors' training, empathy towards everything and everybody, the other. It could be anything, not only the human beings, but for anything which is around you, deep empathy. And only then there is a possibility of recreating in the art form of cinema or on the stage what you are asked to do as a role. If I'm playing a tree or a horse, I have played a horse in a play called The Equus, written by Peter Schaffers, and I played a tree. That's why I said tree. I worked with a tree for, I remember, for months. I used to live on a river island without electricity and running water in a hut for 3.5 years in Karnataka. In a hut, in a small, this size hut, and I had a bed and only the books and my dhoti, and I slept on the rocks of 3.5 years. And we used to work with the elements, with the 3.6 billion years old rocks in Hampi. The river, the wind, the fire, the trees, the squirrels, the butterflies, everything.
When was that?
This was from 2004 till 2007, mid 2007. That's what I did. Just to find out how this piece of instrument works. Because as an actor, this is what I play. And the trouble with this instrument is that the player and the instrument is together. So how to separate them? And how is it possible for me to find out where emotions are in this system? How emotions can be instantly accessed and worked upon and on demand should be available for me. And what is beyond the emotions? Because I also read in Yoga Sutra that emotions are just one of the tiniest realities of a human being. It's like the wave of the sea which are lashing on the shore, and the sea, the vastness and the depth of the sea is who we are in comparison to the emotions. But most of us, we take major decisions depending upon our emotions. So how to reach beyond the emotions, and from there you create, because you can create anything from your lesser self. I would say lesser self means, in my jargon, when I say lesser self, I mean when I am contracted, when I am frustrated, when I am irritated and the world is bothering me, the onslaught of the life is bothering me, then I am not in a creative state. I am in a creative state when I am beyond that, and I see life with generosity, love, compassion, and all these amazing qualities that the great masters had been talking about for centuries. And then there you go, and something comes out from there, can be called creative, because you cannot call something creative if you have already seen or experienced it. It is not creative, it's just simply a copy. Creation is something which is new, which I haven't experienced it. I haven't experienced it not because that I haven't seen the world. I haven't experienced it, and which is unrecognizable by myself who is creating. And you are dumbfounded by, like, how did that happen? And then you have the humility, or you are forced to practice humility because you don't own it, because you have not done it. It happened through you. Correct. Being an instrument, you become the medium of art and not the creator of art. So you don't take credit for it, you take the responsibility, but not the credit for it.
So what Mr. Thurman also just talked about, compassion and things which are integral to Buddhist teaching. If you make a film with all those values, I'm just asking, because very often we turn very preachy when we make such things, and when you become preachy, people don't like it. Yeah, they don't like it.
Nobody. My son doesn't like when I preach.
Slumdog Millionaire did well because it was not preachy. Yeah, I think that is what works. Your
Life of Pi is not preachy, and it's very spiritual. There's so many other films. As I said, I just saw this beautiful film, Dev, yesterday. So I think one needs a very deep understanding of the craft of cinema. First of all, to say something which is not preachy, and yet it bypasses your intellect and touches somewhere which is deep within, and you feel it, and it takes time for you to understand it. Understanding is not necessarily superior to what can touch you deeper within, that you cannot even describe what you are feeling. So that, as I said, that's why it is so wonderful to see films made by practicing monks, and because they have experienced it, and also had learned the craft of telling that story through theatre or films in this case, that it touched me. I was like, wow, how did he do that? And with a very limited, and he did not, I heard, because one of my friends who had worked with him, that it was a very, love budget film. We call it love budget when we don't have money. So you need a lot of like Ang Lee. He is not. I don't think he's a practicing Buddhist, but he comes from that tradition, that lineage. Anything for 7 generations probably have practiced Buddhism. We don't know, but he is extremely curious about everybody else, and the most humblest director that I have ever worked with in my life so far. So when he takes up a subject like that, and he has extreme understanding of the craft of filmmaking, and it was made for, I think, $110 million, and it was considered by the 20th Century Fox a very high budget art house film, and they will never get the return, but it ended up making $1 billion. Amazing. That film. So you need people like that, and unfortunately we have very few.
I can understand. Tell me, other core belief of Buddhism is impermanence, that nothing lasts forever. How do you think it can be shown in a visual form which the audience would accept? Because it's very tough. People don't accept things. Why I'm saying this is, there is this very famous sand artist called Sudarshan Patnaik in Odisha. He makes his things at Puri. And one of the things he says is, one of the things which hurts him at times, now he's used to it, I make one of the most beautiful sand art in the world, and tomorrow morning it's gone.
Yeah.
So, just drawing from there, what is your review on this?
I don't know how one could show it, because I'm not a filmmaker, neither I am a writer, nor I am a producer. I'm struggling to act decently as possible. And I'm not being modest, because I start again from the scratch. Every time I get a role, I'm like, oh, I have no clue what to do. So I was scared quite often. I went to my acting teacher, who's an ashramite in Pondicherry, and he says, Adil, that's a very good place to start. No, you don't know what to do. I was like, oh, yeah. If you already know what to do, then it's boring, no? You don't know what to do. And then, but it's a very scary thought. I don't know what to do. That means he also gave me this. No, I ended up coming up with this metaphor, Rajesh. Don't worry about the questions. I ended up. No. We'll converse. So I ended up. So no, really, just.
He did a light rolling right now. Right?
It'll come. I ended up with this metaphor that I'm jumping from the cliff without a parachute, hoping to fly. So that's my feeling when I first did a play with my spiritual mentor. He kept saying, don't worry, Adil, it'll be fine. I'm like, but how? I said, where do I stand? And he's directing, and he's playing Krishna, I'm playing Arjuna. And it's a play, it's a gist of Gita. And and we rehearsed, but every day it's different. And I'm going to perform first time in front of my acting teacher who lives in Pondicherry. So, and he said, but I said, okay, do I stand here? No, just wherever you feel. I'm like, today I feel here. So stand there. I'm like, but, don't worry, it'll be okay. So he took me like that to finally I gave up. I'm like, okay, today I'm going to fall and bleed, and everybody will make fun of me. We have heard so much of Adil's, theater performance, and this is what he does. But that was my best performance ever in my life. And in the performance is one incident which will explain the whole thing. It changed my life. So I'm working, my director, co-actor, writer is my mentor, spiritual mentor. And I'm going to I have gone to show my play to my teacher, acting teacher. So the play starts, as you know, in Gita, Arjuna asks the question. So this is the gist. So he wrote it himself, my mentor. So the first question is something like, tell me, Krishna, will I not be responsible for the killing? Yeah, if I kill someone, will I not be responsible for the consequences of my action? Yeah, you will be, but... So that's the first questions. And then before the play, he had been just, every time I go to rehearse with him for 20-25 days, he just makes me meditate for 2 hours and half an hour of rehearsal. And I thought first day it was okay, second day, third day, fourth day, after 10th day he asked me, you're very worried, right? I'm like, I'm very worried. It'll be fine, don't worry about it. I'm like, how? Anyway, so the day of the rehearsal, day of the show, I thought at least he will tell me today, okay, Adil, here you stand, and there you go, and there will be the light. It says nothing. I come to the stage, and he says, okay, Adil, today we will move and meditate. I was like, okay. And so he started guiding me, and 2 hours of that, and I came to a place within myself. I felt like the Himalaya, that nobody can move me. I felt so quiet and so like the depth of the sea, you know. The rumblings are there, but here somewhere, and I was not bothered. And he gave me just 3 conditions, my mentor. He said, audience is Kaurava, number 1. Number 2, if you don't understand the question, understand the answer of the question that you asked me, you can ask me again. And you can also ask the first question. I'm like, but the play, don't worry about the play. I was like, but the sequence, don't worry about the sequence. If you don't understand the question, and if you think that you must ask the first question, ask me again. And I might also ask you a question as Arjuna, and I knew Krishna's line because we had been doing this play. These are the 3 questions. So I'm sitting here. So after the meditation, I just stood. First bell rang, and people started trickling in. Third person came in, or fourth was my teacher. And I looked at him and I said, oh my God. Because they were Kauravas. So I looked at him, and this thought passed my mind, oh, he's Dronacharya. And he's my Krishna. He's my mentor and he's my teacher. And something happened. I don't know. I started shivering, shaking. My eyes started, without any sob. There is no movement in the body, but my eyes started tearing. I started getting goosebumps as I speak also, if you can see. You know, this happened. And then I could not speak for almost 3 minutes after the third bell. So I was just looking at each and everybody. And then I asked the first question to Krishna. I was standing on that side of the, and he was just, when I looked at Krishna, he was just smiling at me. And I asked the first question, second, third, fourth, fifth. The play got over. In the scene where he shows me the Vishwabrahmand, and there, whatever I remember, I growled, I crawled, I wept, I danced, I sang, I jumped, I laughed, and all that happened. And after the play, I went upstairs to the cafe, and my teacher, my Dronacharya, he was sitting very solemn. Then as a student, I call him by his name. I can't reveal the name. He's asked me not to. So I said, Dada, so what do you think of the play? He said, before I answer your question, Adil, did you think I was Dronacharya? And I was like, yeah. He just kept quiet for another almost 10 to 15 seconds. He said, something very important has happened. This is what I meant when I told you 2 years ago don't try to be brilliant, Adil. Don't try to be good. Try to be truer. Try to be truer. And because truth, diving and digging into the truth there is no bottom, or there is no limit how far and how deep you can go. So since that day till today, whatever films I have done or theatre I have done, I have not prepared. But it's a very scary thing not to have a parachute and jump. So coming back, impermanence. So I think my mentor has sort of very, they're great conspirators, you know that, right? The spiritual mentors, they are like extremely, they're very sweet conspirators, and they put you in such situation. Nature will put you in situation, karma will put you in situation. You have to learn sometimes in a very hard way. I had gone through a lot of pain, but thank God it happened. So he made me, he's still working very hard on me, nowhere near anywhere. So I'm trying my best to make friends with impermanence it's of so many things.
One thing I have to cut you short here. When he said that, did you look at me as Kaurava? You said yes.
Not Kaurava.
Ultimately, Dronacharya.
I thought Dronacharya, and he knew I was thinking.
So when you told him this answer, was he happy with the answer or not?
No, that's what he says. He says something important has happened. This is what he told me. This is what I meant when I told you 2 years ago, Adil, that don't try to be a brilliant actor. Don't try to be a good or brilliant actor. It's boring. Try to be truer. That's what he meant.
Okay,
so he was very happy. Happy in a sense, yeah. He said this is the starting.
And this was far before all these big films which happened.
This was just before Life of Pi.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then this was 2011. Yeah. And then, so impermanence in a film, how to show that people don't get...
So that they don't feel...
I don't know how to answer that question, because I don't think I would know that. Even if I want to tell something to our son, he's 15 years old, he's like, Papa. Yeah. So he senses my, the preachiness, not about spirituality, just about academics. Papa, don't worry about it, I'll do it. So I think it's a very difficult job
I think we all go
through that.
Yeah.
And people like Ang Lee can, or some other, like as I said, monks, practicing monks, they can make it. Of course, there are amazing films which had been made. I saw Uzu, Japanese filmmaker, some Iranian filmmakers. They evoke such deep empathy for everything, every character, every situation, every event, the crisis. You feel deeply compassionate and empathetic towards their plights and the misery and the beauty and the fun that they have. The other thing which I learned was in a tribal village in Kudupad in 1990s. I was there for quite a few months, where you have to climb up almost for 2 days, and you reach that place, southern Madhya Pradesh, now in Chhattisgarh. And their lives, they are friends of nature. They are nature. We are all nature. But they have found that harmony, and they understood the impermanence so well that it's a normal thing. And the kind of modern civilization has gifted us a huge piece of ego, and we think like, we are the thing, center of the universe, unfortunately. But yeah, I wouldn't know, to answer your question. I wouldn't know. You have the other question?
And I took your thing and I've shut it.
Okay, good.
I don't know what to ask. I will still ask.
I can.
So Mukti Bhavan is a movie which is often referred to as very iconic for a lot of things that Buddhism holds true. I wanted you to talk a bit about that. I don't think many people know about this film.
Mukti Bhavan is a film which is, the story is my father wakes up in the morning and says that my time is up. I want to go to Banaras and die. And even today, those days when we make the film, but even today, there are places where you can go and rent that space. It's called Mukti Dham or Mukti Bhavan for a very minimum money, because it's meant for people, those who are not well-to-do. Even for like 50 rupees, sorry if I made you sleepy, 50 rupees you can hire a small little room. And so this film, so he wakes up in the morning and he tells his son, who is a small clerk in a insurance firm, and he said, Papa, but I can't go, I have got my job. He said, doesn't matter, you put me in a taxi, I will just go. Put me in a bus, I will go. And of course, the son cannot let his old father go like that, so he manages to take some leave, and he goes, and he is busy on the phone all the time. And then the rule of the Mukti Bhavan is that if you don't die in 15 days, you have to go. So, and it's a very funny film, but it's also very deep. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. It's on, I think it's on Hotstar now, JioStar. It's called Mukti Bhavan. Brilliant film. And it is directed and written by a 23-year-old person. So when he was directing the film, I kept asking him, how old are you? He says, and it's very humble. He said, 23. No, don't answer me again. I'm just so surprised and overwhelmed that you are 23, because when I was 23, I was just chasing girls, and you are making this movie. I don't understand. How did you do that? So some people, so I believe in the karmic evolution, so he must have been whatever he was. I don't know, but some people are born, with such amazing humility and talent, and their search and curiosity of depth is just unbelievable. So this film, when we did that, it's just a matter of fact there in the film also. That's why it's also very funny. But it's at the same time very moving and touching. You could watch it with your parents, with your sons or daughters. It's very funny. It talks about death just a matter of fact, and it's shot in Banaras near Manikarnika. And then so the manager of the Mukti Bhavan, he explains very, he's a little limping. So this is the room, and if you don't die in 15 days, you have to go. So he says that, no, he says, you have to leave in 15 days. I said, what if I don't die? He said, if you don't die, then you have to go. What if I die on the 16th day? I'm sorry, then you will not get moksha. So it's, and then how things turn out slowly and slowly. So the unspoken grudges, accusations, and complaints and contempts that they have for each other, the father and son, right from the childhood. So they are pushed into this one small little room, and the son is cooking for his father every day, and then they sort of slowly open up their world to each other and how they misunderstood each other. The forgiveness happens. It's beautiful, beautiful film. Please watch it and let me know if you liked it. Yeah.
Did the shooting last more than 15 days?
Yeah. That's a good question. You see, that's why I was, don't look at it. That's a very funny. It lasted for 22 days. We finished in 22 days.
What about the last 7 days then? After 15 days?
Yeah. So last 7 days we came back and did our editing, and the film it was premiered at the Venice Film Festival in 2017 and got an award there, and it released in 35 different countries, dubbed into Japanese. It ran there for 150 days in Japan. Oh. And Western Europe, it ran for weeks. So it's one of the most revered films across the globe, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
You did talk.
Are we done? Okay.
You did talk about kids. Your son. We all have stories about our children and everything. How do you make children get excited in such films?
Just casually watching it when they're around. I think that's what I started doing when he was 3 years old. Before he goes to school, I used to just play my most favorite music, like There's so many of them. Of course, mostly I listen to Indian Drupad, Western classical, Japanese classical, and the folk songs from across the globe. I have a huge collection of that. So all that, and then I heard him humming. He's humming Drupad. It's like one of my most, there are so many Drupad singers, but recently I became very close to Uday Bhavalkarji. He's an amazing singer and a person as well. So, and then I keep watching some movies, and he would come and he would sit for some time and, Papa, what do you mean that? I'm like, did you understand? It's not for you. No, it's interesting. So when you, and they push, So I take him also with me to film festivals. I took him to Dharamshala Film Festival, and he watched almost all the movies when he was there. I took him to Busan Film Festival. He watched quite a lot of movies there. So I take him there and casually ask him, you want to stay home or you want to come with us? Give them the option to say no. I think you better stay back. No, Papa, what's the problem? Can I come? Yeah, she comes. So I have to, one is to trick them into something, which I'm doing. And now there's a beautiful film again. If you have not watched yet, I'm plugging my films, watch it.
It's okay.
But it's a beautiful film called The Storyteller. Again, it's on Geo Hotstar. It's a beautiful, so this premiered in 2023 in Busan, and our son Kabir, he was with me as well, and he saw the film, and it's a pretty mature film, Satyajit Ray's story, and so he saw the film, and I didn't ask him anything after the film, like how did you like it? So he said, Papa, it was so funny. I'm like, hey. He understood the wit and the humor. He was just probably then 11, 12. It was a very funny film. I mean, you liked it? Yeah. So, you probably slowly can introduce them to, without telling them, watch my movie and watch this good film. Just keep watching them, and they bring them into the atmosphere and then introduce them. It's like unknowingly, dekho, and you inject the virus, and something like that.
So, has there been occasions where he has given you ideas and you thought of making a film based on something that he suggested, you thought it was missing?
Come again?
With your...
Good questions are coming.
No, so this is relentless trolling happening, huh? It's okay. So I said, when you meet your son talks to you, are there times when he has given ideas and suggestions which you said, okay, this kind of a film hasn't been made, probably needs to be made?
Yeah, he came up with a story like, I think 4 days ago. He came suddenly upstairs and I was doing my script. He says, Papa, there's a story I have thought about it, that, in the other realm, after you die, time and space doesn't exist, right? I'm like, that's what I heard. I don't remember anything yet, but that's what the great masters say. It doesn't exist. Okay, so imagine a journalist who is about to report on something, just accidentally dies, and then he goes there, and then he thinks, and he remembers everything what he was doing down there. So he wants to now entertain the people, those who are up there, with news. I'm like,
it is entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. He got that right? So with entertainment, and then he has a tiny bit of influence on the living beings also. So he tries to do something to people and create the news, and then he makes it happen, and he records it and shows it there. I'm like, hey, you got it right. That's what is happening, isn't it? Okay. So yeah, he comes up with stories like that. How
interesting. So I think we could have gone on for a longer time, but I'm getting dirty glares from one side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And don't look at her. Ask him.
He is in the middle.
Like, ask him.
Yeah.
Ask him. So we can take one question from any of you, and then we will end. Is that allowed? Okay. No, I will decide. I will decide. You leave me no choice. You're the only one. Go ahead, please.
Okay, tell me.
Sir, I have seen.
Am I in trouble? No, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, there is a great connection to God or something in your film. Like there is a film of yours which is Z plus, then Mukti Bhavan, then even Life of Pi. So in most of your movies, I can see that you are questioning God or some supreme power, or you are even accusing him for being unfair sometimes.
Well.
He's my friend. He's
Yeah. I am in trouble. Yeah, that is the general tendency, that we like, हाँ आपने ये कर दिया मेरे साथ, मैंने क्या किया? Bachchan Sahab goes to, you remember Diwar? Yeah. ये तुमने ये किया, वो किया. So that's generally we do, human beings, we do that. And the characters that one has written, not I, but the writers have written, and I choose a film where there should be questions. Questions must be welcomed, all kinds of questions, And I also am very big, deep. I had been deeply touched by Ramakrishna Paramahansa Dev, his Katha Amrita. I read it like a thriller in 90s, and so he says, just joto mot toto pot. As many opinions, those many paths, or if you can, And then, so questioning is one of the fundamental ways, I guess, that you can go closer to the truth. And truth is not like one-dimensional. It's, I don't know, it's a huge thing. I don't even know. Maybe I just see one tiny, bit of it. So I am very lucky and grateful to be part of movies who questions about life, about who am I. Like I started asking who am I after I studied at the National School of Drama, because the Bhishma Pitamaha of modern actors, who was born in Russia, his name is Konstantin Stanislavski. I just visited Moscow and I visited his house and I did my Matha Teka. He asks that you must ask these 5 W's. Also in journalism is there, who, where, when, what, and why. So who am I? That question and why and all the other W's. So I thought if I can extend this question not only to be to act well in a given circumstance created by the writer-director, but if I ask in my life, who am I? And then I realized that, oh my God, this question had been asked by thousands of people thousands of years ago. But one close to our place and close to our time is Ramana Maharshi. And Sri Aurobindo talks about him as he's the Hercules amongst the yogis. He just had one question. He went to the cave. He meditated. He was found half eaten by insects, brought out after 6 or 8 years. And then he did not speak for 3 or 7 years. I forgot exact time. And then he started talking about. So I was like, oh my God, these people have done. I'm just a tiny bit of, tiny person who wants to act well, and I'm asking that question. So then started, my inquiry started, my curiosity started. Like, oh, then let me ask, where am I? And then when you ask scientifically as well, the Earth is going around its axis 1,000 kilometers per hour. It is going across the around the sun like 1 lakh kilometers per hour, around the galactic center 1 million miles per hour, and around the galaxy it's going 2 million miles per hour. I have rounded up these numbers, but it's almost close what I'm saying. And it's crazy. Where am I then? So when I ask myself, where am I? Am I in Delhi? Yeah, I am in IIC. Where? Yes. But is it where I am? So when I say I am in IIC, if you ask me a question, where are you? When I say I am in IIC, but I still say it in a way that I don't know, then your curiosity is invoked because I am curious. That's how an actor can continuously uplift the curiosity, the awareness of the audience by being curious and aware of not knowing where you are, when you are, because time doesn't exist in so many ways. I have read Stephen Hawking and Roger Penrose, and I'm like, oh my God, time is like an illusion. It really doesn't exist in Kala, Mahakala and all that. So then when you are constantly in the state of curiosity, and when you perform, when you play a role, my director is sitting here, Rajni. She directed me in a beautiful film called Rag. And when I am in the state of curiosity at all times, then the people, those who watch me, their curiosity is constantly evoked as well. This is how it happens all the time, because we are such great receptors. This is why actors are in business, that we laugh, you cry, you cry. But then beyond the emotions, as I have mentioned before, that emotions are a tiny part of our being. If you state yourself, if you establish and consolidate and fortify yourself in a space which is beyond your emotions, in a deeper consciousness, then the character you play, it could be a so-called negative character, but there is this inherent awareness, as probably Buddha said, choiceless awareness. Am I right? Is that what he said? Is this Krishnamurti? Yes. That you are not judging what you are aware of. You are just simply aware of it. And the word abhineta means that. It means the one who uplifts or transports the awareness of the witness who are watching you, those who are watching your performance. That's my job as well. So thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. Thanks. So, we generally end the thing with me summing up what exactly happened, but I will not do it, not because of lack of time, because I think I'm ill-equipped to handle all that he said. So, thank you so much, Adil, for this, and thank you, IBC, for organizing it and having both of us here. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It was an absolute honor to have both you, Adil sir and Kalra sir. May I request Haldar sir to please come on stage and felicitate our panelists.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I wanted to get this unique. Thank you. Thank you so much. So nice. Thank you.
Adil sir actually walked out.
I think he's just...
He went down.
Yeah, no, he's got a podcast.
Thank you, Kalra sir, for curating the conversation so well. It was indeed an interesting session. We will now be screening the last movie, but a very important movie of the Bodhipath Film Festival, Guru Padma Sambhav, the Second Buddha. It is an English film of 31 minutes and 38 seconds, directed by Miss Aparna Sanyal. She is with us here today. Miss Sanyal, please stand up. Can we have a round of applause for her, please? She was a panelist yesterday on day 1 with us in the auditorium. This movie is, as some of us know, lived a great tantric, is about this great tantric master of the Indian subcontinent from the 7th century and his unforgettable trip that he undertook from the Himalayas to the Tibet. Miss Aparna Sanyal, who has directed this film, is a National Film Award-winning documentary filmmaker for over 25 years. Guru Padma Sambhav, the Second Buddha. Cut short the movie since we have to vacate this place by 5 o'clock. So moving on, we will go ahead with the panel discussion, the last panel discussion of the film festival. The fourth and final panel discussion of the Bodhipath Film Festival is on mindful communication. The moderator for this session is Mr. Surinder Talwar, and the speakers are Ms. Rajni Basumatri, Mr. Siddharth Singh, and Ms. Garima Vahal. May I please request our panelists to come on the dais? Mr. Surinder Talwar is an acclaimed Indian filmmaker with a wide-ranging exposure and experience of guiding communication initiatives for over 40 years.
Achha, okay.
He is well known for his subjects related to Buddhism and Indian Buddhist heritage. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think the time at hand now is very short, so we'll keep it brief. So I have two talented people here, Siddharth and Garima Vahal sitting here with me. Rajni Basumatari is going to join in another minute or so. I think they are the right people to tell you that how do they use mindfulness while communicating. And they've been doing it very effectively. You see, they've made a mark for themselves. They've left an impact. Being mindful only, through being mindfulness, only we can leave an impact. Otherwise, we can never connect.
True.
All right. So over to both of you initially, though she was supposed to be the first speaker, but you can continue, please.
Hi, all of you, and thank you for coming today. And thank you, IBC, for having us. It's a great opportunity because I think this is the right time. This is the Kali Yuga. Everybody wants the awakening to happen, right? And so basically, mindfulness, I think no form of art can be created without mindfulness. You need to be awakened yourself, and you should at least start the process at an early age of whenever you discover writing as a profession. And if you cannot write from a deep within from the soul, then there is no point of writing anything like that, right? So I feel mindfulness plays a very, very important role.
Absolutely. Since we are a team, I would obviously have to agree with him. Goes without saying that, I feel earlier in the discussion somewhere I heard that, a very specific kind of people can make a specific kind of a film. Whereas I beg to differ, and I want to say that every filmmaker, any filmmaker is actually like a monk. Because, we are a monk inside because film बनाना मतलब आपको जोग लग जाता है. आप जब दिन रात वही सोचते हैं, आप सिर्फ उसके बारे में the precision, and especially when you're making it in a small budget, sir, you've made such a wonderful film with Nalanda, and I can imagine the constraints you must have had. So every filmmaker has that mindfulness already. And what also works, I just want to in very crisp, in the given time, share a very interesting incident with you all. That Siddharth and me are essentially working for the commercial Bollywood film industry. But what we consciously do is we try to keep themes which are very, very socially relevant in our cinema. And this is a beautiful incident that I had with His Holiness Sri Dalai Lama. About 7 years ago, I was in the Dharamshala, and there was a bead of people, meeting him, and people were touching his feet and going. And he happened to stop me when I was just meant to, just take his blessings and move on. He said, "Stop, what do you do?" And I told him, "Sir, I'm, His Holiness, I'm a writer and I'm a filmmaker." And you know what he said? He said, "You know what? Make films which are for the society." And the way he said it, it's still so fresh in my memory. I have a picture with him, which I, of course, shared with all of these people here. And with his blessings, I feel that was the first time I felt that, yes, awakening is so essential for a filmmaker. And it was great to be, in his company for those 15 minutes, getting his blessings and learnings,
Amazing. And now Rajni has joined us. So I would want you also to share your experience about using mindfulness in filmmaking. She's an actress, a screenwriter, producer, director.
Thank you, Surinder ji. Good evening, everyone. And we have been told not to take more than 5 minutes. I promise we will not. So I think mindfulness is useful and it is important for in every aspect of our life. Because we are filmmaker, we are talking about we will be talking about filmmaking. Without mindfulness, I think a film wouldn't happen, because I'm a wife of a police officer, so I would like to tell what he says when he sees me on a film set and when he sees me preparing for a film. He thinks it is more intense and more, it needs more preparedness and mindfulness than going for a big operation. And I, of course, do agree with him. And, you know, it is like managing a whole lot of soldiers, because we have so many people in our team. And if we are not mindful, we will not be able to pay attention to each of the people who are in our team, our crew. And especially if you are a director and a producer, everything falls apart if you are not mindful. You know, the creativity comes, in fact, a little later, but then first is managing people. And you have to be extremely mindful in your communication, how you talk to them. You have to be very respectful and give time. We often just wait for our turn to talk without listening to the person who is talking. And we want to sound very brilliant, we want to sound very intelligent, therefore we keep thinking in our mind what we are going to say when my turn comes. Instead of that, what I have learned through filmmaking is that it is important to listen to the person in front of you and then talk and answer and respond to what he is seeking. So that is one part of being mindful. And also, of course, it's film is creativity, and you can create anything if you are half-hearted or if your mind is scattered. So mindfulness is the first step for every little creation that you want to do in your life. Thank you.
You'd like to add something? I think we'll call it a day. Thank you very much.
One more round of questions, he says.
One more round of questions. Okay.
In case anybody wants to.
In case anybody wants to ask any question, we'll take two.
Yeah.
One each.
One each.
Anyone?
I just want to make a point. You know, see how difficult it is for anybody to gather the audience attention here, because the moment Adil sir has left, you see the half hall is empty, right? That's how it is difficult. That's how much difficult it is for us to gather the attention of the young people towards this spirituality, awakening, and mindfulness, right?
Absolutely. There was a beautiful thing that Mr. Poddar stated earlier in his, you know, when he was talking here, and I loved what he said, that how in a monastery where the children, the young monks are being, they're making a thanka with the sand, and then they know that the clouds and the rain are going to spoil it. I think that is every filmmaker's life just summarized into that one statement. This is all, we are making that with so much hard work, and we know the moment it goes out there,
On
it's...
a Friday. Yeah.
So you said mindfulness is the starting point,
right?
But at the end, somewhere filmmaking is also, you know, a business function.
Yes.
All right. And so I know you take decisions as you go along for whatever is in the interest of what. But do you know when you're compromising on remaining mindful, or do you know as human beings? And I'm not saying it's an admission. Or, you know, it's something, but, and you've taken a decision for whatever reason. You know, I mean, and I can relate this to, you know, consuming alcohol or whatever else that we do in life, right? We know the ill effects, but we still do it.
Right.
So as film producers or creators, do you know the exact moment when you probably have to put mindfulness away?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Any artist is completely aware that this is not my artistic self. This, I've put it aside on a shelf right now because I need to make money. And artists make the least amount of money. Yeah, that is also mindfulness. It's also at the same time caught in the worldly issue.
So when you're talking about mindfulness, we have a very ideal state that we think of, and then you look at Gautam Buddha's life and the movies that we've seen and so on. In reality, to what extent can you really practice remaining mindful and being true to
This can be a very individualistic answer. I can give you what I think. So basically, what I feel is it's very basic. It's very basic. Having said that, in this Kali Yuga, it's very difficult not to lie and not to practice any intoxication. It is very, very difficult, but it is also very basic. The simplest thing in the world are the most complex. So that is what I think the teaching of Buddha also says, that you have to understand the simplicity by which you can follow the path, but still you can't do it. So that's...
Rajni, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah. I had two small story, like few seconds of story. It comes from me. I remember once we went for a youth camp, and I shared a room with someone, and then we had to travel by one vehicle every day, few of us actually, and one particular girl used to be late every day, and we would be late. So in my mind, I was kind of making plans that tomorrow if she is late, we will just leave. And then whole night I was thinking I'm going to do that. And the next morning, I was sure she's not going to be there. She was actually sitting in the car. So it is also how we communicate to ourselves, and we kind of damage ourselves, our soul, and which is not required. And also a friend of mine and I were fighting over something on phone, and then then finally we kept the phone and said that we have to meet and talk face to face. And on the way, I was planning, I'm going to tell this, I'm going to bring up this. And then when we sat across the table and had ordered our coffee, and she said, I'm actually sorry, and I shouldn't have said this way. And then, of course, I said sorry too. So it's not communicating well, not being mindful for our body and soul. And soul and body is very connected. When we damage our soul, we damage our body too. So when I think about all this happening in my life, I try to practice more mindfulness now. Thank you.
That's beautifully said, Rajni. And with you, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So the competition is high, and morality and ethics are at the backseat. So what level of the mindfulness can be achieved to maintain the ethics particularly in the film and corporate?
I feel the key lies in the meditation part of it, sir, because I feel it's easier said than done again. But to shut out the world, how do you meditate? You close your eyes. That means I don't want to look at the world का जो भी चल रहा है बाहर दुनिया में, वो मुझे नहीं देखना है. That's how I find myself. I shut my eyes. What people rarely do these days, they are not able to sleep the night because they are always surfing on the phone. Shutting this eye is very important. I think that's how I can...
It's also, while I completely agree with him, I am not able to shut my eye at most of the things because, we are a part of an industry which is also, like we discussed, it's creative, but it's also very, very business driven. So some decisions are taken in such a harsh way. I was just coming to that point when Rajni narrated her personal experiences. I have been struggling with it, but I would advise every creator present here or otherwise to practice mindfulness, to try and detach that beautiful story about the thanka being blown away in the wind, you know, after being itne mehnat se banane ke baad, I feel that if we learn as creators na, that would be the moment for us. That would be the awakening for us.
Because mindfulness is a journey, it's not a destination, right? So we need to be on that path at least.
Then we are good.
Yeah.
Like to add anything? Okay. Thank you so much.
Being mindful of the time right now.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, panelists, for being so cooperative and understanding. IBC is very grateful to you.
Being mindful.
Absolutely, practicing what you are preaching. Very rare quality. May I request our Director General to please present the memento and khatak to our panelists. Team IBC. Our moderator of this session, Mr. Surinder Talwar. Speakers of this session, Ms. Rajni Basumatari, Mr. Siddharth Singh, and Ms. Garima Wahal. We've come to the end of a memorable 2-day Bodhipath Film Festival. Thank you to everybody who's come here. I request everybody to proceed for high tea. Thank you.